tentative if we run into some problem that we discover during testing, but we're coding things in for next Thursday with a release that should come out a couple of days beforehand. So that would be the 18th, I believe. So that should have everything required to pay the stealth fees to the stealth fee-backed asset. The management, where the top 5 stakeholders of the fee-backed asset get to decide things, automatic buybacks in the markets, all those different things, he says are implemented and working. So that should come out then. I haven't gotten the latest status report from James or Valentine. They are in the Mumble session today, so maybe they could just give you an update on where stealth is. If one of you guys wants to let me know. Otherwise, we can give you an update when probably next Wednesday or the Wednesday after that. We'll have the jury update.
Do you guys want to talk at all? I'm sure everybody here would love to hear from you.
Can say that we're able to use the wallet, importing some private keys into the a new stealth wallet, and Valentine has got some components that he's going to be integrating. He started yesterday, and so that's functional for him. I've got a lot of little things like to convert the old wallets in there, and a lot of testing to do well on that still.
So to summarize, we got most of the parts. A lot of the things that's taken unexpected time is the integration and backward compatibility migration. It's one thing to implement a feature. It's another thing to implement a feature and integrate it with older code and make sure you don't break anything. But thank you very much, James, for that report. So there's that.
Thank you.
All right. Other things this week. It's been a big week in BitShares news. A lot of excitement on the forum. A lot of great ideas. I guess Tony's not here, but he actually, I don't see him. He actually came up with an interesting, productive idea, even though I've concluded that it's probably not in the best interest of BitShares to implement the idea. The discussion and the ideas were incredible. So, Data Security Node said we had the highest market cap since November. And highest 24-hour volume, over $1 million in volume on BitShares. All the BitShares community members who speculated on Ethereum and then brought the profits back to BitShares, thank you very much.
Good job.
So, it's been an exciting week. I released a white paper / blog post on the rate limiting stuff that we talked about last week. If you haven't seen that, you should check out my blog. I think that there was a lot of excitement after last week's Mumble discussion. A forum poll showed something like 73 people for and 5 against. That's the most agreement I've ever seen on almost anything on our forum, and lots of very positive discussions. I'd like to address the number one concern, and that is, what does this do to the value of full-time membership or lifetime membership? And I believe the answer I came up with are twofold. One, we can give lifetime members a longer averaging window, which would allow them to burst to higher throughputs. And two, we can create two different classes of rate limiting. Lifetime members are allocated some percentage of the bandwidth. Non-lifetime members are allocated another percentage. Considering there will be fewer lifetime members, that means they'd have be like the HOV lane, which means you can transact and post more when you're a lifetime member while holding a lower balance. So that's.
Is there any way that this could hurt the mechanics of the market in terms of like the fairness of it? I haven't been able to bump up against it, and I'm not an expert in this area, and I think a lot of you guys might have some insight onto stuff like this, but are there any downsides that have been talked about that I haven't seen? Anyone have opinions on that, or Bytemaster, do you have an opinion?
The primary downside is having to tell people, no, you can't transact right now.
But that's only going to be a very small window of time, right?
Yes. And it should only
So
affect us once we're already saturated.
Yeah, so it's essentially kind of like how there are different fees in Bitcoin. I mean, as far as the priority list.
So as far as the cost to develop this, based on our experience with Stealth, I'd say it's the integration and making sure we don't break anything in the process that's the biggest challenge. But it'd be a couple of weeks to implement it. I think Abit has offered to implement this feature, and he's got a pretty good code base. He's been doing the percentage-based transfer fees. So I am all about diversifying and decentralized development of BitShares. So if you'd like to make his own estimate of what he thinks it would take to do this, I think having a few more minds looking at the very details of the proposal and figuring out would also be useful. So,
out of curiosity, you said that there would be potential things that, that's the fear or the concern is that whenever you make big changes like this, that there can be obviously, problems that can arise. Is this planned, or is it going to be tested on the testnet that Xerox running?
I think it most definitely should be tested on Xerox test network, particularly because this test depends upon flooding. So the goal is to make sure that someone can't flood the network, regardless of how big they are, how big their stake is. So a test network's the perfect place to test this.
Now, with respect to that, I was talking to people in the committee the other day when they were, they're always talking, so everybody knows they're never not busy. But behind the scenes, what they were kind of talking about with respect to this stuff, oh dang it, the amount of volume on the testnet, and the problem is getting a lot of liquidity and volume on there. potential of using like a worker proposal or something like that, or some pool of fees to occasionally have like competitions? Because I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Motley Fool, but they have a test net, and they actually have like a winners list, like who's on this test trading portion of their site, and then they have an exact same replica of the real, where they can actually go, where you can actually go out and trade and do other stuff through um, using their like all the stuff that they offer. So I'm trying to think, is there a way of making like little competitions with maybe like rewards to get people onto the network? Have you guys thought of how we could get people onto the test network itself and actually incentivize um, the use of it?
All right, so here's yes, you can do all kinds of things like that. Running those competitions takes time and money. You can probably make it a pay-to-play kind of thing. You put money in and then you do the competition on the test network. And then some of the proceeds go to the people who are running the tests. But with respect to rate limiting, one of the challenges we'll face with BitShares is new users should be given enough stake so that they don't encounter rate limiting in normal use, which means that right now when we create an account, the faucet will need to fund that account with maybe $1 worth of BitShare. And if it funded the accounts with $1 worth of BitShares, we need to do so with like Facebook validation or something to make sure that people don't come and drain it dry. Which also means that it's probably something that the network would have to subsidize. So the network will have to trust someone to hand out those type of sign-up rewards.
Are you saying that every user or customer of our network has to have some BitShares in his account to use this?
Yes, it's very much a membership organization to have a club membership in order to use the club facilities. But then when you have a membership, the usage is free. And so it's sort of like saying, pay $1 and you never have to worry about fees again.
I get the point, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So a new account wouldn't have to wait to transfer at all. Well, they might have to wait like a couple minutes. If you put $1 in to the account, it should accumulate enough to transfer in just a couple minutes. Probably less, but that's not really that big of a deal.
BitX is asking, will this be a faucet for new users?
Yes. It'd just be the same faucet we have today. It's just they would fund the account when it's initially created with enough BTS to do transfers. The other effect of this will be a minimum balance requirement. Users will not be allowed to withdraw BTS from their account if it would render the account unable to transact.
Another question here, Hadrian's bringing up, how long will a new account have to wait until a transfer can be made?
Right, I answered that a couple minutes.
Yo, Fuzzy, your mic is really low. It's going to be a bear to edit this.
Yes, things don't always work out as planned. Apparently, my mic is on the fritz today. I've got a brand new setup, so I don't know what's going on. Like everything was working earlier when I tried it last night, Well, everything works fine on my side, but apparently something needs to end now. Okay. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try to minimize how much I talk on this occasion, on this one, and let's see how it rolls. There's nothing wrong with that. Bytemaster, can you just read out the question, though, for those who listen? I'm just going to make you work extra today.
All right. So some people have asked, why not have a fee as a backup? In my white paper, I address the issue very clearly on the economics of having a fee alternative. The fees now, with the white paper, I introduced an objective method for determining fees based upon network capacity. And for a given transaction, we know how much stake you need to hold and for how long you have to hold it in order to transact. And if you're going to pay a fee rather than hold stake for a minimum period of time, then you effectively need to determine what the interest rate you're going to charge on borrowing that much money from the network for a short period of time. So read the white paper for details, but it should be possible to calculate what the fee is and to make sure that it's high enough that it's beneficial for the network to allow someone to pay a fee to consume bandwidth versus having a membership. So just keep in mind that allowing people to pay a fee to consume bandwidth can make it cheaper to flood the network. In my example, I showed how someone can completely cripple the Bitcoin network for a whole day for just $1,000. Someone with the same $10,000 attempting to spam under the rules I presented wouldn't be able to affect the network for more than 30 seconds. That is a huge difference. And so even if you have relatively high fees, yes, the fees would scale up automatically as flooding commences. So there's an equation there. You can have a fee fallback. You can also have a situation where rather than charging a fee, you take the user's money and you hold it off the market. You lock it up for a period of time and then you return it to them. Well, zero fee. It's just we allow them to pay it with future commitment to hold rather than past holdings, which means if you start to spam the network, you're going to end up locking up more and more of your stake. Get it all back later. So those are a lot of the ideas. So the issue here is why it matters that the network gets flooded. Two things. Flooding the network creates bloat in the sense that it takes longer to download the blockchain, causes the blockchain to consume more RAM, makes re-indexing slower. All those things impact people running the infrastructure for the network. It means that we have to pay witnesses more to do the job. The other aspect is at any given point in time, there's a technological limit to what we can support. The stress testing of graphene showed that we could get up to 1,000 transactions per second, but we're actually running at effectively 100 transactions per second right now. We need to scale, manage supply and demand for that 100 transactions per second until we can add more capacity. Obviously, the answer is once you hit your capacity limit, the correct choice is to find a way to increase capacity, not increase fees. So that's something that we can do. And that's why I mentioned with Bitcoin that you might have to hold $25 worth of Bitcoin to transact very conservatively once a week. But if Bitcoin increased their capacity to what BitShares is capable of, then it'd be less than $1. So it'd be easy for Bitcoin to increase its capacity to by a factor of 10 or 20. So there's that.
So it comes down to the amount that the witnesses are going to have to pay for the actual hardware to run the network that's being flooded. So it's almost kind of like a balancing act at any given stage of the network's growth.
Correct. Someone asked the question, has the idea of a secondary market for timeshare bandwidth been discussed? That's sort of like creating another token like BitShares. The BitShares is the token that represents timeshare bandwidth under this system. You don't need a secondary market. About bandwidth is it's not just accumulating coin days. Coin days, unused bandwidth cannot be moved into the future. If it's unused in the past, it's lost to the world forever. Now there is another aspect of this. We talk about bandwidth being one resource constraint. There's another resource constraint which I think we might want to implement, and that is a memory usage constraint. The idea here is that there is a maximum amount of memory that the witnesses are currently capable of utilizing. And every single account should have a percent ownership of that maximum capacity. And if you run out of, if you don't have enough to represent that, let's use the club analogy. Every member of the club needs a locker. If we run out of lockers, it doesn't matter that we've got time for people and bandwidth. We ran out of another resource. So this system for fees can be applied in multiple directions. One is the rate at which you can transact. The other is how many total operations can you have in the system, like open orders, how many pending operations, how many people you're voting for, all these things. We can calculate the memory usage that each user is using and reject any transaction that would cause that user to use a larger percentage of the total memory allowed than their percentage of total BitShares held. So then the answer is, if that becomes a problem, is the witnesses need to increase the amount of memory that they support. It gives us a nice way to balance supply and demand, because even though we might network capacity to support flooding, if the flooding results in the creation of millions of orders on the books, that could cause us to run out of another resource. So,
I did have one question about the rate limiting. This is Mayhew. Yeah, it sounded, from my understanding, it sounded like there was some sort of exponential back off when people pay a fee to try to throttle them from doing that. How does that scale as far as somebody, instead of doing it from one account, they just make a bunch of little ones and divide their money up trying to do a bunch of transactions?
It's proportional to stake. So an account with 2 BitShares can transact twice as often as an account with 1. So if you divide it into 2 accounts, your overall transaction rate will be the same.
I see. So there isn't any sort of exponential back off. Is that, I guess, not true then?
There's no exponential back off. There's just, you've got so much stake based on the current network utilization. You're allowed so much bandwidth, and time you exceed your bandwidth, you're throttled.
Is that done based on a per account basis?
Yes, each account has its own bandwidth measurement, and when an individual account's exceeded the bandwidth it's allowed based on the stake that it's got, it can't transact. But as time passes, its bandwidth usage falls, right? Because it didn't transact, which means you'll be able to transact again.
Yeah, I think what he might be talking about is the idea that your bandwidth rate adjustment is the dynamic aspect of it is different from the falling off to the coming back on. It takes longer to get that bandwidth back after it's been reduced. I think that's the asymmetrical thing that he's referring to when he meant exponential changes.
Yeah, so I guess a question would be, if somebody was preparing to do this type of attack, rather than putting all their stake into one account and get it all bulk rate limited, they would make 100 accounts or 10,000. And then if one got limited, they still have 999,000 more.
Yeah, it'd work. I guess I don't know how to explain it more concisely, but I guess imagine you've got imagine transactions are like water, right? Transactions are like water. Each account is a pipe of various diameter. You can only push so much water through a pipe with a certain diameter. And whether you've got one pipe twice the area of a smaller pipe or 2 pipes of 2 smaller pipes, you can only get so much water through. And so there is no way to game or throttle it or game the system.
So having 100 accounts with 100,000 BTS is going to be as many transactions as having one account with 100,000. Is this
No. If you have 100 accounts with 100,000, it's the same volume as one account with 10 million.
That's what I mean. Yeah, wow. My apologies on the math. Yeah. But essentially you're saying it doesn't matter because you as a person are going to be holding all these accounts. The amount of counts is not important at all. All that matters is the stake that you hold.
Correct.
It doesn't matter that you distribute that stake over a bunch of accounts. It still represents the same amount of cut of the bandwidth.
Exactly. Are you enjoying that melon? Sorry, Thomas. Have to do it, man. Does anybody else have any questions for Bytemaster regarding this?
So the goal of this system is not to have anyone's funds locked up by in any perceivable way. Right now, Bitcoin locks up everyone's funds for 10 minutes at a time. You transact, and your funds are locked, and you can't touch them for 10 minutes. The rate at which an account with $1 can transact will be much faster than every 10 minutes. Only if someone was trying to abuse the system would it cause that time delay to grow. But the numbers that I showed shows that you'd have to be a whale to meaningfully impact the overall reserve rate.
Bytemaster, didn't you mention that ABIT was going to be willing to do on this feature?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you say earlier that ABIT had volunteered to do on this feature?
Yes, ABIT's in this mumble session right now. So
yes. Now, is this going to be a feature-backed asset, and if not, why?
Well, considering there are no fees involved, it's kind of hard to make it a fee-backed asset.
Well, I guess fee-backed asset is different in my concept than a feature-backed asset. But your point is well taken, and that does bring up the question of, does this impact feature-backed assets?
As a network, we have to make a choice between charging people and network effect. And having the freedom to decide when to charge people is incredibly valuable, right? You want to charge people for premium things and give them the first hit for free, that kind of thing. So if you're building a fee-backed asset or feature-backed asset, having the ability to control when and how you charge customers for things is very important. So I'd say a business that wants to build something on the blockchain has to decide whether or not they want to create their own token, build their own network effect, and or charge fees. And those are the two ways to do things.
I see. Well, it is kind of counterintuitive. I guess I didn't see it right off the bat, but now that I think about it, I can certainly see why this can't be a feature-backed asset, because the whole idea is to eliminate fees. So you can't charge for that addition, that feature, because it's just counterintuitive right on the face of it.
So this is a feature that grows the network effect. It benefits everyone. It's a perfect case for a worker proposal. So that brings me to the next topic. I had another blog post in the past week that I think is something that's worthy of discussion. And that is of currency distribution.
Yes, let's dig.
All right. So the concept that I wanted to introduce here is a paradox that exists. And I call it the paradox of scale. We all know that inflation, the printing of the dollar, results in a transfer of wealth from everyone to the people who receive the new money. And that the impact is a loss in purchasing power. And we all experience the loss of purchasing power as a result of government inflation. On the other hand, so that's when something's the reserve currency of the world, right? That's the dollar. Then you take something like Bitcoin. The creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi, was the initial owner of all the coins. And he decided he was going to distribute the according to mining proof of work algorithm. And so he starts inflating his coins in order to distribute them and get more people involved. As a result, despite the inflation in supply, the value went up. So somewhere between the birth of a new currency and its the time it hits world reserve currency scale, inflation turns from a good thing and a necessary thing into a bad thing. And the question is, why is that? How does that? And the way I started to think about it is, it's like putting two logs next to each other. Alone, they are worth less than they are together. When you inflate, bring new people in, the result is 1 + 1 = 3. Even though you each, if I'm the only person that holds it, it's worthless. If I get 2 or 3 people that are willing to trade it, hey, it just went up dramatically in value. If I get 1 million people using the same currency, it has dramatically more value, even though I might own a smaller percent of the overall pie. And so this is puts an interesting perspective on fees. Think of fees as the opposite of inflation. It would be better for a blockchain to charge no fees and inflate to cover expenses, because you're growing network effect. And the result is that the blockchain grows in value by more than the lost revenue. Particularly if only people that you're paying are people who are providing demonstrable value to the network. They're providing the infrastructure. And they're providing the support and the maintenance and whatnot. Anytime you pay people who are providing value, you're growing network effect. And even if the short-term price declines, at the end of the day, the short-term price is insignificant next to the network effect that's being built, next to the sense of belonging that people get. And so if you view the problem of currency distribution, fees are the opposite of distributing. They're collecting the currency back. And by not charging people, then at the very least you're even. They can use the system and they don't feel like they're paying any fees. You're distributing the fees users of the system, which encourages growth and adoption. So I would say that Bitcoin decided some arbitrary thing. We're just going to distribute 50 Bitcoins, then 25, then 12 every 10 minutes to whoever digs a hole and fills it back up again. Initially, it was helping. It had some initial benefit of securing the network. That's long since passed its usefulness. Initially, it was distributing it widely. Now it's concentrating and it's being sold onto the market. But
Master, how would you? I guess I looked at it from more of a classical economic perspective. That M1, which is the money supplier, in our guess, our biggest analogy to that would be just what our maximum amount of coins can be. That's a maximum amount that we've capped, and that's what Bitcoin has done as well. But that's the M1 supply and the equivalent. In what would be measured against that in terms of how much value that currency is representing, because that's all this is a representation activity or exchange. So that's the GDP. If you can make sure that your M1 supply matches or is correlated with your gross national product, then you have a sufficient currency to transact all the business of that GDP. So it's when they get out of balance, when they stop being correlated to one another, that you have inflation or deflation. So how would we measure the GDP within our system?
Well, we have the instantaneous price, which is what the market's telling us. Then we've got the prices that each of us has in our head of what we think that this thing that we're building together is going to one day. And that's very different than what the market's telling us. So people are willing to work to build something speculatively on its growth. Just when people get together to form a startup, they work for low wages, no wages, and get equity that has no real immediate value, but they work because they know it'll have value someday. And everyone knows that if we all work together, that it will grow faster than if we just go off on our own. So at some point, it doesn't matter how much money, what the actual dollar that you're distributing is. It matters that you distribute it to someone who is doing work, and that you distribute it to the person who's willing to do the most work for the least. So the call to action here is that we should not look at every person that we pay as someone who's going to push down our price. That only matters if we're looking to sell. If we're looking to build something together, the work that they're doing is increasing probability of the long-term success of everything that we have. So there's two factors. There's price times probability of success, right? And the more people that are working, we're increasing the probability of success, which increases the perceived value of it today, but it doesn't necessarily show up in the instantaneous value, because some people want liquidity today. So today's a measure of who wants to exit on any given day versus who wants to buy in on any given day. But the people who stay in doesn't change that much. So my point is that Bitcoin has been inflating at, I guess in its first 2 years, it's like 15 to 20% per year. And look at how fast it grew. BitShares has a maximum inflation rate of like 6% or less. So even if we were inflating at our maximum rate, we'd be inflating less than Bitcoin and all the other altcoins out there that have, very few have low or no inflation. And I think that if we view inflation and model it mentally as we're the reserve currency of the world, that's doing a disservice, because that's not the situation we're in. That's not the right mindset to have. Now, some people might say, well, if you're inflating, that's going to cause the price to go down short term. If I'm a speculator and I know that the price is going to be going down short term, then I'm going to sell to get ahead of the inflation. But if the inflation is known, and everyone who bought in because they knew what the inflation was, then the speculative price that things trade at have that baked in. Like Bitcoin has the mining rewards baked in, and then it will grow based on that. So inflation only has a negative term effect on the price when it changes in value. If it's a constant rate of inflation, then the market price will reach to factor in the constant rate of inflation, and it doesn't matter anymore. Now, all that matters is that we allocate what we inflate to the people who are doing the most in the highest value work that we can.
I think in my mind, the one sentence way to describe what you're saying, I think, is if the value of what you're holding is appreciating faster network effect, then it's decreasing due to inflation. It's a net gain.
That's correct.
Yes.
And I would look at it this way. If you want to start a fire, you have to gather lots of twigs and then light it on fire and then build things on top of it, right? When you're in the building phase, you need more wood. You don't say, well, I got my little pile of twigs. Let's go and turn this, stop bringing more wood to the flame. The pie grows every time someone brings wood in the form of labor or money to the equation. And if we say, well, we only want people to bring money to the equation and we don't care about labor, well, money doesn't grow in value without labor. So you create a Ponzi scheme if all you want is people to invest money and not labor when you're trying to start something up. You need to put money in and you got to spend money to grow and to bootstrap. So I'm not necessarily
You've
even
got
going
to give. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say you've got to give the bees pollen, and then they'll create the honey.
Well, the other thing is, with regard to the question I asked about the GDP kind of relatedness, what I heard from your response, Bytemaster, was that in a speculative venture like we're in, it's very difficult to gauge that real value in order to set, because it's really hard to determine what GDP is because it's so speculative. Well, I mean, in any kind of dynamic economy, even in the U.S. economy, there's a lot of moving pieces, and it's hard to gauge what that productivity really is. I'm not sure how it's actually calculated for the U.S. in general, but that's really what you've got to do to make sure that your supply is adequate for the type of things that are being transacted. So, I mean, I think the analogy is still the same in that if we can't make that correlation between the supply and what's being transacted on our network, then we're going to have too much inflation or too much deflation.
I'm going to disagree with you in the sense that when you're small, you have no mass. And without mass, you don't have efficient markets, which means that the short-term price that you see is not driven based upon growth of the economy. It's driven based upon short-term fluctuations. So it's like Bitcoin. It's pretty big, right? It's got a lot more mass than BitShares. The price moves up and down as people enter and exit, even though the Bitcoin economy is constantly growing and is growing at a faster rate than its inflation. But you can still have massive swings down. It can lose half its value. You can have speculative bubbles that push it all up and down. So when you're small, it's not possible to up a 6% a year inflation rate is insignificant next to the volatility, which means that even if the price goes up by 10 or down to a tenth, that's within the range of volatility of the market's assessment. It has nothing to do with the size of the economy. It just has everything to do with speculators' perceived value and their demand for liquidity at any point in time. If they see something like Ethereum going to the moon, they might sell their BitShares to get onto Ethereum to make some money and then turn around and then buy BitShares back. Who knows what's going to happen? The other markets are, I guess the GDP analogy for inflation and correlating supply growth and price stability. Price stability is irrelevant. Look at electronic prices. I think that's not here. And all the economic lessons that we have from Austrian school and those philosophies on how a global money supply, universal money supply should work, they break down on a smaller scale because it's kind of like saying the sun's got gravity and a marble's got gravity. But which matters more? The marble's not going to move the sun. marble's going to get blown all around. Even though it's gravity, other things like the wind and other objects around it have a greater impact on where that marble's located, how fast it's moving, than anything else. So when we're small, you can't use the rule of thumb or the things that apply at large scale because there's too much noise at the lower scale. So you almost have to have faith that, by continually working at it together, it will grow in value. And it will. Over a long enough time frame, you can actually see the growth. But that time frame, the smaller you are, the longer it stretches. The more volatile it is, the longer it takes to separate the signal from the noise.
So you're saying...
Yep, I understand. Thank you, Bytemaster. That does help to clarify my confusion to kind of ferret these things out. It's an economic lesson, and when you look at it from a small scale, it's not so easy to correlate to the rules that we were kind of taught, and you can observe in a bigger scale. So thank you. Sorry, Fuzzy.
No, you're good, man. That's why I just backed out. But what I was going to say is you're saying that if we have the fastest, most scalable blockchain in the world, and we have a bunch of people who care about it, it's probably going to go up in value. Sorry.
The only thing that's going to destroy a community is if someone says, it's all mine, 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 right? You have to pay to play with me. That mindset is what turns a lot of people off of BitShares, right? And a lot of the theories that underline BitShares of, it needs to be profitable, it needs to generate more from revenue to cover expenses, and all those theories, they are technically true. But the one thing that we have underestimated is the value of network effect being greater than the value of revenue. And to some extent, we're penny wise and pound foolish. We charge a 1 cent fee to get some revenue, and we lose $1 worth of network effect. It's very, very hard to visualize the network effect or to understand that 1 + 1 does not equal 2. It's also hard to use valuations. If you use a valuation based on revenue projections, a lot of the centralized exchanges, even the big ones, aren't worth as much as Bitcoin is worth. Right. So
problem with the network effect analogy, though, I mean, it's a good analogy. I'm not disputing your position, but it's more speculative as to what it takes to get that as it is than it is to deal with in more tangible things that are within your direct control.
Correct. It's very hard. Since Bitcoin entered the scene, and actually maybe even before Bitcoin, but in the past 15 years, Web 2.0, the value of websites is users and their attention. And that has more value than anything you can actually charge the users for. Getting people's attention is the scarcest resource in our economy. And whenever someone's using your token, you're getting their attention. Whenever they do something for your token, you have their attention. That is a scarce and valuable resource that companies pay a lot of money for, hundreds of dollars per user. Is not unusual for companies to attract people, because people in large groups are incredibly valuable. Anyone could create a service like Twitter on a technical level, but you can't copy its network effect. And that is a very, shows that it has very real value. And we're seeing it not just in cryptocurrencies, but in all kinds of services. When things have value because other people use it.
One thing that comes to mind when you bring that up, Bytemaster, is really good. You're getting into a philosophical level at this, because what it tells me is that, things like how people view anarchy versus minarchism and statism, there's a mind shift. And so we're in a battle of gaining mind share. I mean, and what you just described was another example of gaining mind share. Are people attentive to what you're trying to push? And so it's just another facet of how we're trying to gain mind share and get people, now whether it's individual and granular versus a broader thing for anarchy or non-aggression principle type of things. That's just a matter of scale.
Correct. So imagine you're trying to grow the libertarian movement, but you charge everyone to be a member, and you charge them every time they vote, and anytime they participate in any event, you charge them. You're not going to grow. You're going to die. And people are going to say, you just want our money. But if you say, hey, join our movement, we'll pay you to come to our talks, to come to our events. We'll pay you to vote for us. Those types of things dramatically impact the rate at which things can grow. And this has been a real challenge for me as a libertarian to balance the free market capitalism, private property, anti-socialism mindset with the real benefits that certain socialized things have, like insurance. Insurance is socialism. It has huge value to the individuals. It's like penguins. They circle up for body heat. They rotate who's on the outside. Any individual penguin who didn't participate in the socialized heat sharing would die. And so it's really, really tough for me, because I don't like taxes. I don't like socialism. I know that central planning fails, and I don't like other people having arbitrary power, and particularly enough power to use violence. But there's this balance here that I'm coming to appreciate, and it's very new. And the gut reaction to inflation or dilution or taxes or socialism turns a lot of libertarians away. And it's because we're not actually understanding what we're actually against. We're against the use of violence and coercion. That's what we're against. We're against not having the right not to participate.
Yep.
So, but voluntary socialism, if you will, where you can...
Is family.
It's at the smallest scale, it's family. It gets slightly larger. You get community, you get mutual aid societies and all this stuff. That's how people share the heat so that we don't die in the cold. It's how we collectively can share burdens that are too large for any one person to do on their own. In fact, every company, they call it capitalistic, but every company is a socialist system. The shares in the company, in the venture, you're sharing the profit. It's socialism. So recognizing the nuances here is extremely critical to knowing how to build and grow a business and a blockchain in this space. And if we let our philosophy, if we interpret our philosophy from a big scale down to a small scale, and we make the wrong analogy or the wrong relations, we're going to die. And I guess that's my that was my point about currency distribution and the paradox of scale, and just some food for thought for the community at large. Which would you rather have? Inflation that grows and brings in new people and allows more and more people to get involved and have the price fall in the short term? Or no inflation and have the system stagnate because no one's bringing more wood to the fire and have the price fall in the short term?
That's what I've always thought delegated proof of stake is. It kind of enables true proof of work.
True. It's subjective proof of work.
But subjective in a way that eventually we'll be able to hopefully find a way of like judging all this stuff and procedures.
Right. Well, and like A-Bit doing stuff, that's something we can judge. We can see the benefit. We can see his actions on the forum. There are ways where we can judge this stuff. And here's the thing. Perfection is the enemy. There's no way to perfectly assess someone's value. What matters most is the network effect of them contributing is so much bigger than any rounding error we make on how much they get paid.
So true.
Obviously we don't want to be foolish and pay people for doing nothing, but with our voting system, the more competition there is going to cause people like A-Bit to come out and actually work to prove that he deserves to be voted for, particularly when it's not a question of whether or not someone is going to, we're going to pay someone. It's who we're going to pay. And I think that's what the discussion needs to be changed to, is figure out who we're going to pay and what are we going to pay them for, and not should we pay someone. Because saying we shouldn't pay anyone is guaranteed to kill the network effect, guaranteed to result in stagnation and failure. Network effect upon predictability and dependency. So to a certain extent, anytime we can remove uncertainty, it increases value. So the uncertainty about the inflation rate is a source of fear and causes the value to fall. It's possible that by committing to a guaranteed inflation rate, a guaranteed amount of work that's going to be done on something, that the value can actually go up because people don't have to worry about it changing or about people reacting to a change in the inflation rate. We don't have to worry about, well, is this thing going to stagnate and work's getting done? Or is it going to not stagnate? It removes so many worries that a 6% a year inflation is insignificant next to the volatility of BitShares on any given day, insignificant next to where we want it to go. Right? If we want it to go from where we are now to even the size of Ethereum, right? That's a 40x growth. Under such if we want to do that over the next year or two, what difference does 6% make? Or even 12%? It's insignificant if we achieve what we want to achieve. And if we don't achieve that, then it's also insignificant. So we're investing based on the hope gain. If we just stay flat over the next year, or say we even fall 10% in the next year or 2 years, well, okay, what did we get done in that time? We didn't disappear. So the inflation, the reallocation, that's something that is necessary for growth. Bitcoin does it. If we don't do it, it's going to be a problem. So there are people out here, valuable members of the community, a lot of people in Chinese, alt, and the like, who are actively voting against every single spending proposal. In fact, the second largest proxy voter is alt, and he's voting against any inflation whatsoever. I encourage people to open up your eyes to the bigger picture here. It's better to have a few people sell out now if they don't like the inflation, and then grow with a solid of people who recognize the value of the network effect, than to stay in there and say, no, we're not going to inflate. So, and this gets me to my last concept here, that the problem with inflation is not that the inflation's going on. It's the power it gives to the people who get to decide where it goes. Bitcoin doesn't give anyone any power. It's going to the miners, that's it. Right? And most of it is consumed and wasted, which means the profit from mining is relatively small. But at large scale, it's the power that inflation gives those who control where it goes. Now, in BitShares, that power rests in the individual stakeholders, which gives us a lot better control over where things go, and hopefully it's more fair. But it's the power that's the problem, not the inflation per se. Because inflation, in the grand scheme of things, is almost, supply inflation is almost irrelevant when it's only a couple percent. Considering all things in our economy are inflating, all goods have supply inflation as efficiencies improve. And no one complains about computers going down in value, chips going down in value, raw resources going down in value because we get more efficient mining techniques. So what matters is in decentralizing the power. Anyway, just something to think about. Obviously, I'm not a dictator. I'm hopefully here to provide some perspective, lessons learned, and just one voice in the community. I hope each of you gets something valuable out of what I had to say today.
Awesome session today.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Before we cut everything off, Noisy had a question, and I know that it's been answered on the forums and around, maybe in Telegram. But just for those who don't know, I once described an idea on the forum to convince CNX to use website live coding TV or Twitch. A lot of millennials on there. What do you think about that? I'm asking about that because this will give something to the community, knowledge.
I'm working on ways of increasing the transparency and knowledge sharing. But someone's echoing. Thomas.
T-Bone.
It's live coding. It's hard to code when someone's looking over your shoulder. It's a very focused activity. It would really slow things. Having knowledge is good. Now, if someone wants to reward people with worker proposals for doing coding tutorials, that would be awesome. It's another tool. It's another thing to set up. It's something else that if you're doing it live, now you have to have the bandwidth to support that. Your computer is doing a lot of the things, and there's just so many things that come up. I don't think it's practical to do that all the time, but I certainly think there's benefits to having tutorials and video tutorials to teach people how to code. That would have tremendous value. But Xerox has looked into that, and I think Notestein
another thing,
looked into it.
I don't want to interrupt, but I have to while I'm thinking about it. Have we ever talked about, or have any of you talked about the idea of creating tokens and actually handing them off to people or groups of people? I mean, essentially like share drop. Imagine if you could share drop on Stack Exchange. Or give a certain token to like the president.
I like the idea, Fuzzy.
You see, I just think I find myself thinking that these networks can branch it out, can bring in other networks that kind of plug into us and build us on top. Like we'll have the core community, but Linux, and we could have all these different communities that are tokenified.
What I'm not sure of, Fuzzy, is we were talking about live coding, and then you transitioned into share dropping and the share bits kind of metaphor, and I'm not sure how the two are connected.
What I was thinking about was there's a guy that I used to watch all the time, and I can't remember his name, Bucky something, but he would do live coding, and then he had a YouTube channel. And this dude coded in pretty much every language I could think of. But he also has a social network. Like we could bring in people who already create tutorials and have communities of people who create tutorials. If we can give them a tokenified environment to reward their own communities with. So you're essentially like taking the idea of just making tutorials and exploding it into like a community who likes to do it, and they get paid to do it in this token.
I think that you're on to something, Fuzzy. Anyway, I'd like to address a few other things. Someone want to talk about liquidity. Liquidity is incredibly important, and I think that rewarding people for providing liquidity on our exchange, providing liquidity is proof of work. It's providing value. It's rewarding people for taking the risk of being first. So I am very much in support of using workers to fund markets and bootstrap markets by using the maker-taker, take the maker proposal, which distributes future revenues from the market, and combine it with a worker proposal that subsidizes that revenue stream initially. And I think you can really start to see a bootstrap of liquidity in any market that we do there. I think liquidity is what gives Litecoin most of its value, right? Litecoin doesn't do anything that Bitcoin can't do. It's a little bit faster and a few little things. For the most part, it's just an alternative means of moving money around, and it has got value because it's got a lot of liquidity. Liquidity gives people confidence, and we need to reward people for that. Helps grow network effect. So that's good.
Johnny Bitcoin's bringing up the side chains idea. What do you think?
Another great idea. There's so many awesome ideas out there.
Great ideas.
And it takes so long to do every little one. But if people know that they can get rewarded for doing it, people will do it. And then as more people do more things, you get more people involved. And in fact, it matters more that someone's engaged in doing something than them actually even getting it all the way done or finally accept it. Just the mere fact that they're paying attention to the problem of what can we do is giving value to BitShares. Let's start talking about how we can do things better. Let's find more people like Abit. And when someone like Abit steps forward and codes before he even has his worker proposal in, by golly, we better make sure he gets rewarded for having faith that he can get paid. That if he makes a meaningful contribution to the core code, that we will accept it. As long as it doesn't harm the network, there's no reason not to accept people's contributions. And if people feel like, hey, I can get something contributed to BitShares almost as easily as I can get a new smart contract on Ethereum, then people can actually debate, and people might actually consider developing on our platform. So just keep all that stuff in mind.
Simply caring about solving the problem brings value. I can boil that down. And I would like to say thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bytemaster. About 18 minutes over. We generally always run over a little bit. But you are all invaluable. This is a very unique little band of what do we call ourselves? Crypto nerd heroes?
Crypto misfits.
Crypto. That's a good one.
Yeah, baby.
The Crypto League. Crypto Justice.
Jeez, yeah. It's like all these little communities, it's almost like having a bunch of different constitutional conventions and just creating our new, our own ecosystems. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm not going to go off. We're going to be getting ready for Solomon Solerness and Cents. Their hangout is going to be in approximately 10 minutes. Until then, go do whatever you need to do. Make sure that you have signed the guest book. I think the signal, never mind, it's closed. Well, meet us back in about 10 minutes. Hey, Solomon, what's up?
How's it going?
It's going, dude.
Yeah, I can see that. That's good.
Oh, man. It's, I'm consistently amazed by it doesn't really matter how bad the price seems. We have a bunch of people come in here.
Yeah, it's always a good sign,
Dude, I think it's a sign of stubbornness. We're like, it looks hard right now, but we've put so much work into it, and it's so good. So it's just a matter of time until some other people see this.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Is that that's the priceless question. If you build it, will they come? That's the question everybody's always trying to answer. If you build it, will they come? And typically they don't. You have to do more. There has to be something more than just building the product that you think people want. Unfortunately, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, we actually. I've been talking to Crypto Prometheus behind the backgrounds. Behind the scene, I mean. And we've been talking a lot about the value of market research. And you and I have these kinds of conversations quite often as well.
Yes, of course. That's a staple in, I would call the regular tech scene or even any business. market research should be at the core of why you make any decision in your organization or your open source community or whatever. Um, you have to understand what makes your market tick, uh, how you can provide value to that market, and who your market actually is. Those things are very crucial in understanding how you build a roadmap to getting individuals to use whatever product or feature you want them to use. And unless this is done in a holistic way where it's taking in different, data types and data points about the market, one can make a lot of mistakes.
And then you're just kind of beating your head against a wall instead of walking down into a beautiful prairie.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard because I don't understand quite yet, and I'm trying to grasp it with my brain how we're going to get a bunch of analytics and data from in the blockchain scene, because the blockchain is still mysterious to me in many ways. Like, I think there are areas where everybody focuses on, and then there are other areas where we need to all expand on.
Right. Well, you got to
But
remember,
man,
blockchain technology is mysterious to most regular consumers too, not just you and
yeah,
I. Matter of fact, most technologies is mysterious to most people. People have iPhones, Android, whatever. They don't know how that stuff works. They don't know anything about the ones and zeros and the logic goes into. I was talking with a girl yesterday and she told me she loved math. And I told her, if you love math, you do great at computer science. She didn't get why I made that connection. People don't even know computer science is mostly just math and understanding how to put that,
yeah,
in ones and zeros. You know.
yeah, and how, yeah.
So
Well,
go ahead.
this is the millennials, man. This is the breakaway session I see.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we will break away. I can guarantee you that. We definitely do that. That's not even a question. It's just what is the technology that's going to allow us to go away, right?
Yeah. And how are we going to sell it to the people who need it?
Exactly. Exactly. How do you sell that to people who need it? Because
Put
selling,
the
that is
ribbon
a
on the
huge part of
package.
it. Right. You can't just have the tech. You got to have the selling point. You got to have the message that's going to connect with these people.
And without knowing who the heck you're going to, the message can get kind of difficult.
Yeah, that's very true. Everybody gives Apple so much shit, because they come out with technology that's 10 years old, like what was it? NFC was out forever, before Apple finally put it in when they used Apple Pay. But you got to give it to them. Know how to sell and send the message at the right time. And a lot of times that's what matters.
Yeah.
That's what
The
matters.
timing.
Timing is everything.
I
It's funny.
actually haven't given enough thought to that.
Oh yeah.
That's a good point, man.
Oh yeah. Timing is everything, man. Oh man. Like again, the
Thanks for the
iPod was
lesson.
not the first. iPod was not the first it wasn't the first device that allowed you to play music on its own. No, they had plenty of devices before that. But the way that Steve Jobs brought it out, how he brought it out, when he brought it out,
It was a
that's what
dream.
made the distance. Yeah, that's what made the difference.
Yeah, man. I think the one thing that I've appreciated about how you can just forge videos and these things, like, it's like you're forging steel, but these things become so powerful, and this is such a great medium to connect with the audience and to actually bring them in with bait that they can't say no to.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
I 100% agree with that. Video and just visuals. That is
Yes.
that is the mystery, that is the beyond the ones and the zeros. That is the thing that you can't really measure, but get it right. A simple video can completely catapult you to the moon. I mean, again, let's look at Ethereum. People always forget that Ethereum started with a 10-minute video. I remember watching it in January of 2014. I remember watching that video and being like, okay. But the rest of the people, the rest of the audience, it really captured their minds like, oh man, is this possible? Can we do this? Oh God, you remember that was the whole thing. It was the visual of seeing a developer with an idea
Yep.
actually be potential. And Vitalik, he got hit from every which way that you can get from. They said everything about the boy, every single thing. And look at where he is today. It goes to show that at the end of the day, you can have all the criticism in the world, but if you hit the right timing on an idea whose time has come, there's nothing that can stop that. And his market cap is a testament to that today. Because again, they said everything. We all said everything about and if it is true. But it's that people believed he hit the right demographic that actually believed in that idea. And at the end of the day, that matters more than the criticism and the FUD that they got.
Well, I would say whoever's in charge of their marketing did that.
Exactly.
But they did it well.
Exactly. Exactly.
I wanted to add something, but could you confirm that you hear me well?
Yeah, no,
Very well.
Okay, great. Basically, you mentioned that video is very important, and of course, I can agree with that, especially after the fact that BitShares didn't have any video after the launch, was terrible in my opinion. But you also mentioned during your talk a lot of time that most important one was the idea. And the video is just the way to show your idea, that this idea actually can change something. And I noticed this actually a week ago when I listened Hangout. Actually, the way how Bytemaster started his talk about the fees. He got me after this sentence. Did you imagine a feeless blockchain? And I believe use that kind of approach to the new users as a way to promote things. And of course, video is one of the very important thing to do that. But why I'm telling this is that because previously or users of BitShares talked only about the revenue, fees, how much that this is profitable. People don't care about profit. Think about what is going on with the SpaceX. Elon Musk do not talk about money. He talk only about the dreams, about the Mars, and
visions.
Vision. People do not care whether SpaceX actually earn right now money. People do not care about. All people love to work for SpaceX, even if, as people saying on the internet, they are not paid much. But the vision is the most important, and right now we have a vision, so we have to use that correctly. We have something very precious. This is important. But I think vision is one thing, but we also have for something more important: transition. We have been in a place when we thought that approach will be better, and we should agree publicly that we had some mistakes, because right now we have a knowledge, maybe not a knowledge, we have some, I don't remember the word, experience with the bad stuff. And we evolve.
The hard stuff.
Yeah,
the hard
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So we should actually be open about that. We should not. Maybe this is. Previously I thought maybe this would be good idea to make a rebranding. I'm not sure about that. But for sure we should be open to the other communities that actually we change a lot of things because we were wrong.
Yeah, and
Of course.
it's good to admit that when you make mistakes, you have to admit it. It is okay. There's nothing
and-
wrong with that. We're all human
Exactly.
beings.
And to be honest,
It's more
I am
wrong if
so
you do don't.
Exactly.
exactly. To be honest, I was so surprised when I find out, for example, when Finn change a license, because I heard some argument from my folk that BitShares should be truly open source, and there were also some announcements or just comments from the Bytemaster that this is not possible because some of business reasons of the Cryptonex. And after some time, suddenly this right now this is possible. So we should also be very open about the fact that we as the community have the impact of to our product. Actually, it involves to something what community wants to have.
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about multiple graphene chains?
Not only. I'm referring to fact that now forking a BitShares code is possible. Previously, there was a license that I'm not referring that I remember correctly, but I was sure that for sure wallet has this kind of license which prevent someone else to forget and make a different version. That was the.
I feel like Shares has done all the infrastructure and coding work that it needs to do in terms of technology. Now it just needs a solid vision and a message, but I don't think that that comes from the core team, nor do I think that that comes from BitShares itself. I've said this before and I still believe it. BitShares is the Linux that everybody is waiting for when it comes to finance, but it needs entrepreneurs who have studied the market, who have looked from top to bottom and have discovered a pain point in consumers' lives where they can use BitShares technology to fix that pain point. That is what BitShares needs now.
Actually, I don't agree with you because.
Hey, hold on a second.
Okay.
Noisy, I hate to cut you off, but we're supposed to start at 10:30 with Solomon's actual hangout.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's okay. I posted it on the share drop
here.
for the last one. No, dude, you're more than welcome to speak up. I just need to actually formalize this.
Yeah, you know what? Like hearing from you, Noisy. Good point.
You know what? Actually, shit. I. You know what? I'll keep doing this. I'll edit this part out where I said shit twice, and I'll put you guys are all familiar with how this works, so I'll just put the introduction on of them after the fact. Sorry, man. Okay, so let's go ahead though and move a little bit into Solomon, what you're doing and how this connects with what we've all been talking about.
Sure, yeah. New money project.
And you like BitShares too, right?
Of course, that's why I'm still here.
You're a long time what do they call them? Lurkers.
Yeah, lurkers, currency entrepreneurs, currencypreneurs, whatever you want to call us. We're the entrepreneurs trying to build on top of BitShares. You know, the powered by BitShares clique or crew or misfits or whatever else they're calling us nowadays.
But you were knowledgeable about BitShares very early on.
Oh yeah, back in 2013. I just again I was doing my own thing, trying to figure things out, being a filmmaker, transitioning into technology and excitement of Bitcoin and all the people who had ideas, you know, it was very chaotic, I would say. It's very wild, wild westy, you know. But I definitely understood what BitShares was doing. I just unfortunately didn't take the time to really see how my project could benefit from its technology.
You had chosen to finish your degree, right? Rather than focus on BitShares.
Yeah, I
Is
had
that
to.
pretty
Yeah,
much?
right. I chose to actually start a computer science degree instead of continuing with my project, which is water under the bridge now. But looking back, that probably would have been the best decision to make. But at the time, you only know what you know, and you know, hindsight is 2020. Uh, but yeah,
Well,
I
would you say
decided
that?
to focus. Go ahead.
I'm just interrupting you here because I think it's important to recognize, though, sure that this technology degree has helped you with understanding BitShares technology.
Oh, absolutely. Just in understanding tech, because again, I come from a very creative background. I'm a filmmaker. I've been a filmmaker for 12 years. I've done it. I've studied
And a
it. I know
badass.
the ins and outs. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've studied it very deeply, but at the same time, I've been blessed with the understanding of information, of understanding technology, to a level that most people who are creative don't transition into. So yes, like understanding technology is something that I have done also. It's like having that dual art and science mindset really
Bingo.
allows you to do things that most people, wouldn't think to do, like making a Hollywood style video for, some tech product or something of that sort. But it has definitely helped me out, I can say, in my journey to where I'm trying to get to. And yeah, I would
Yeah,
agree.
that's
It's definitely a millennial thing.
well, and that's kind of why I say that when you really think about this generation, these generations, it's almost like they're dual majors no matter what.
Yeah,
They
right.
have at least like an associate's degree in technology.
Right, exactly. And I don't know when this started. I just know, it has definitely been something that a lot of people in our generation has been open to a lot more. I don't know, maybe it's because the increased competition in the market where you have to know more than one skill or whatever, but I just know that it's definitely something that our generation has taken a hold of, and I think it's only going to grow from here.
And this is kind of the generation you're going to be appealing to with your
Yeah, absolutely.
project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll get to talk about that when I do the introduction.
So let's dive into it right now. Like I'm gonna edit it after the fact and make this put the introduction in.
Okay, sure.
I mean, everybody. What I want to know is, I want you to kind of craft it, and so everybody understands what you're, because it's pretty awesome idea.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can definitely do that. Just let me know when you want me to start.
Yeah, start with the vision, Solomon.
Sounds good. You know me. I can do that. That's what I can do. So,
I figured.
all right. So, okay, let's get started. So, new money. What is the new money project? Well, new money is a simple and intuitive brand. It really gets to the heart of what this project is about. Like I say, it's simple, it's unambiguous, it's provocative as a phrase, and that's really why we use it. Now, the clear reflection of this brand's essence as a product, meaning the product that most exemplifies the power of what we believe this new money project will do, that would be Sollywood TV with Dollars and Cents Smart Money or New Money. You see, Dollars and Cents Smart Money is key to this project, giving everyday regular consumers real use cases on how new money technologies can change their lives today, not tomorrow. So the question becomes, how will Sollywood TV with Dollars and Cents change regular consumers' lives today? Well, let's talk about that. Sollywood TV with Dollars and Cents is essentially a new online marketplace for content and content services with its own digital currency built in pricing. The marketplace has that digital currency, Dollars and Cents, so it can really innovate the way content creators can price their content to where a consumer will actually want to pay for it. So for example, if we were to partner with Netflix to provide their service through our marketplace, Netflix can absolutely sell at $7.99, $8.99, $10.99, whatever 99 with our currency. Why? Because Netflix has proven the market enjoys the content experience they offer at those prices. They have zero problems onboarding consumers for their service. Now, if you're a short filmmaker and we partner with you to sell your content through our marketplace, you will not be selling at $7.99. Why? No one knows you, and no one's going to buy your film at that price. But that's okay, because you can sell it at 7 cents, or 3 cents, or 1/5 of that. And you know what? Millions of more individuals will be much more open to paying that price for your unknown short film than $7.99. So with Dollars and Cents to the marketplace, this system becomes that much more effective at serving the market with better priced content. And as one can see from the example, that can be a deal. You see, we all know our current money systems don't work at those very low prices. It's impossible to price that low. And yet, at the same time, the overwhelming majority of content creators, the ones you don't see on Netflix, the ones that have great talent but can't make enough with YouTube, these content creators need to price at these low prices to even get noticed or have a chance at making a living or seeing better opportunities come their way. And yes, this silent majority of content creators you see, they easily make up billions of dollars of content output a year. Output that needs a sufficient price. Output that will grow as these content creators become better at content creation and building bigger audiences, i.e., consumers. So are you starting to sense why this marketplace can be such a big deal? You see, this platform doesn't just look to help the Netflixes and the Hollywood bigwigs of the world, but most importantly, it helps the unknown content creator to monetize and find audiences too. That's why with Dollars and Cents, this marketplace has the potential to be the ultimate placement platform to cable, the platform everyday consumers have wanted today and forever. You see, let me explain a little further. You see, cable and the larger entertainment distribution model is a $200 billion a year industry that is long overdue for disruption. Everybody in America hates cable. The consumer market has been begging for better solutions. And over the last 7 to 10 years, we have seen the free market provide these better solutions. Platforms that continue to bring the rapid decline in cable subscriptions. You know some of them. You know, like Netflix, YouTube, YouTube Red, Hulu, HBO Now, Vessel, VHX, Twitch, Maker Studio, BuzzFeed, Apple TV, Facebook Video, Vines, Roku, and so much more. All these platforms, along with millennial behaviors, are proving free market will bring an end to cable. Sollywood TV with Dollars and Cents, simply the final nail in that coffin, and goes further in all those platforms combined and allows any type of content creator to price their content in a way where a consumer or a majority of consumers will actually pay for it. None of those other platforms can claim that. Our marketplace is the only one that can. That's what makes us the ultimate replacement for everyday consumers today. Now, one final point to make about the New Money Project, and that is the demographic we will be appealing to. That demographic, as we talked about already, is millennials. Now, no matter what anyone says, millennials are the most important demographic when it comes to new digital currencies. We spend close to $3 trillion a year. $3 trillion. And we are the only demographic actually not looking for not only a replacement to cable and entertainment systems, But most surprisingly, banking systems. Yes, we are the only ones that actively want to see the old banking system replaced. Now, why do I bring this up? Because Hollywood is simply where new money, dollars and cents, starts. In the same way that Facebook started with colleges and Amazon started with books and Uber started with these. You have to start somewhere that makes sense. And for us, that's Hollywood. But understand, there is room to grow and service the millennial market in ways that only new money can. $100 million market caps, $12 billion market caps, that is all chump change compared to what happens to the currency community that can convince millennials that they have the killer app for digital currencies today, not tomorrow, today. And by God, this new money project do just that. So if there's any questions, please let me know. And thank you for listening.
You are so talented, man.
Appreciate.
Smooth.
First off, Thomas, yeah, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you.
Oh, it's just he knows who knows type of thing. Do you know a filmmaker by the name of FC Rabath?
No, actually, I don't. Who is that?
Well, I don't know what his name is. I've forgotten it. But he is a very talented film producer. He makes a lot of shorts, and if you look him up online, you'll find all kinds of his material out there. He gives a lot of it away. He's had some actual real lengthy movies out there. Let me think. I can't remember I'm just really bad about my memory sometimes, and so I can't even pull one of them up. But he's got a prolific slate of film. Many of them are just small little snippets. A lot of them are very comedy oriented, and some of them are serious oriented. So that's just a name dropping kind of question. It's nothing serious. Don't need to take a lot of time with it, but look him up if you have a chance.
For sure, Tom. I definitely will. Thanks.
And out of curiosity, Solomon, I mean, I'm assuming you take this FC Rabath, and he's probably brilliant, and there's probably 100 million of them out there.
Oh yeah. Oh man, it's the bad people don't even know it. Like I said, it's the content creators you don't see on Netflix, the content creators that can't make enough with YouTube. There are millions of them. They make content that is worth billions of dollars. They're just sitting waiting for a system like Sollywood TV with dollars and cents. They're waiting. And you can see a lot of them making videos complaining about the current system because, yeah, they're doing okay with YouTube, but they're not making enough because the only price they can price at is free. And we all know that's nonsense. A market cannot have one price for all content. We all know that, So for them, when they're not even making enough off of this free price, they're getting 35 to 20% of what comes in for their content. That is not sustainable. That does not allow a content creator to make a living. You need a system where they can not only price correctly, but also make an overwhelming majority of what comes in for their content. The dollars and cents attached to the marketplace allows for this to happen. So that's why it's such a big deal, or can be such a big deal.
And how do you see BitShares technology working with this? Like, do you see it as your own graphene chain? Do you see it starting out in BitShares and then moving on to it afterward?
Yeah, it's definitely something of that sort where we start out, the second option you mentioned, where we start out on BitShares, but eventually, yes, we do move to our own graphene chain, our own thing, especially as we start to expand and all of that good stuff. But at the end of the day,
350 billion.
Right. And look, that's what I try to explain to people. Like, guys, we have to have our own vision and our own path to making things big. There are markets that are multi-billion-dollar markets that need technology like BitShares. It's not just the financial markets. I was speaking to Cobb the other day. Music is another industry that can use these type of technologies. You know, we need to look at other industries that can really use this tech today and messages around these industries that are tailor made for them. I've done that for film. I've made a simple, understandable message that filmmakers can really grasp onto, and that is selling your content at the right price, a price that allows you to make a majority of the money that comes in for your content. That is something that
And they can change
resonates with
their own
them.
business models, right?
Yeah, of course, because it's just the price. We don't deal with how you structure your content like Netflix. Netflix has the
Or
business
YouTube.
model of, or yeah, YouTube has the business model of one free price for everything. That's YouTube's thing. You as a short filmmaker can sell your thing at one price. That's fine. Netflix likes to bundle content and make their own original content. It's fine. Those are all legitimate models that we can showcase through the marketplace. But it's the fact of allowing these content creators, the ones you don't see, giving them a way to monetize and show their content too, to where people will actually be like, oh, look at that price. I can actually pay that. I would actually pay that, even though I don't know this person. That is a price that allows me to say, okay, let me check him out. Do you know? And that's the
how does
system we
somebody
don't
compete
have.
with YouTube on this then?
How does somebody compete with YouTube?
Yeah, in this free market, because that's kind of how it's set up, right?
Yeah, exactly. The Sollywood TV is a free market. The way that they compete, well, I wouldn't say that. You see, YouTube caters to a very specific demographic, a very specific, when you're in a very specific mindset, you go to YouTube to watch their type of content. So even though it's competing, it's a big enough market to where you can still make money, you can still do your thing without having to look at Netflix as or YouTube as the end all be all or the big bad monster in the room.
Yeah.
That's not necessary.
The marketplace
at all.
is huge.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
There's plenty of
7
room
billion
for everybody.
people in the world.
Yes,
Yeah,
but if you're a filmmaker, how do you decide? Gee, should I put my effort into putting my stuff on Sellers and Cents TV, or should I put it on Netflix, or should I put it on YouTube? I mean, what would drive somebody to use one vehicle over another?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tom. And that really comes down to understanding Netflix and YouTube's actual model. Netflix will not work for content creators. So there's not even a question to ask because they're not going to work with you. Unless you are a certain kind of content creator in the market, then they're not even going to mess with you. Now, YouTube on that.
You got to be much bigger. And yeah, I understand that a major distinction between places like Netflix, which are pretty much Hollywood oriented, versus YouTube, which is everybody and anything. So
Right.
You want to be in everybody to anything. So I mean, it's really a matter of questioning whether or not somebody would put their content on your vehicle, just put it on YouTube or others like Hulu or whatever.
Exactly, Tom. So when it comes to that question, that is the question of you remember we were speaking earlier about timing and who to start with. For us, we wouldn't actually start with everybody and everyone. No, we would start with a very specific number of content. Market works whether there's one content on the platform or a billion. At the end of the day, we still have to price what is in our market correctly to where a consumer actually pay for it. Never forget that. So for us, we don't actually have to start with a marketplace that has 1 million pieces of content. We would be very strategic in handpicking a few platforms or a few content creators to start with to show how the technology works, to show people what they can get with the experience that we're offering. Does that make sense?
Oh, makes a perfect amount of sense, because you're actually making a lot of decisions for people in terms of weeding out a lot of noise that they don't have to figure out. So, you're making, like, if somebody's making the decision which platform to use, they kind of gauge from what content's already there whether they fit that. So
Exactly.
if they fit in with that, then fine, then they can kind of gauge what the value of their stuff is in relation to what they've already seen. So by not allowing it to be so open-ended that that you can't price anything accurately. You're narrowing it with things that you know how to price well, and that way it will send a message to the people out there that are similar. Hey, come join us. And then as that grows, and your content repertoire will grow as well, but not until you get the experience and have the other people into that market that really know what they're doing in it.
Tom, you just hit it. Like I couldn't say it any better than you just said what took me 5 years to explain in like 10 seconds. That is it. That is exactly it.
Hire me, man.
I know. That's what I'm like, why is it Tom with us?
Well, the funny thing, Tom, this is a good place to plug it in. Solomon here has Soul Certs.
Yes.
And that's the proto token. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, sure. We can definitely talk about that.
So he can hire you.
Right, exactly. My thing is, I've always, and that's why I like BitShares, because I've always had the mindset of being as independent of the current financial system as possible when it comes to funding these ideas, because we're not just going into Hollywood. Eventually, we're going to go into banking. Millennials want to see the old banking system replaced. So there is a vision to roll into that industry eventually. So if we're going to do that,
we're all our community want to see that same goal too.
Exactly. No, I totally understand that. And the thing is, we have to be as independent from the old system as possible to make this as viable as possible. So I've always had I've always admired BitShares in the way that I think BitShares, the way that they launched 1.0, the way that you guys did it, to me is the most successful independent launch of any cryptocurrency, besides obviously Bitcoin, because that was the first to do it. But the way BitShares came in and rode in on a new idea and completely funded it from zero to hero, in my opinion, always admire that. I want to do it myself. So the way to do that, we came up with Soul Certs, which is the PTS version of Solar Bonds, which will be our official asset for the project. And what Soul Certs we're going to do with that, like I said, it's the version. We'll be handing those out to people who help out with our pre-marketing phase of the Kickstarter and just the Kickstarter in general, because there are a lot of things that need to be taken care of in order to make this project really grow in the way that Ethereum grew after they launched their video. We're trying to replicate the same exact thing here, just for new money, just for our project. But it's the same thing where we're appealing to the demographic that we believe will really resonate, that this project will really resonate with. So in order to do that, you have to have a token that people can actually, use and say, okay, that is going to be valuable in the future. So for us, that token is Soul Certs.
Cool. And you have as opposed to a 10-minute video, across all the videos you've done for Sollywood TV, you have what? Probably close to an hour.
In terms of
the video content you've created.
Oh yeah, man, yeah. That doesn't count the Kickstarters that I've done. I've done Kickstarter videos for other projects that have made triple their amount of said pledges. I've done a lot of videos.
Yeah, it's the core, man.
Yeah, for sure. And go ahead, Fuzz.
I was just going to ask you, because we're always trying to think of synergy, right? So how do you see something like this being usable for, say, tutorials on how to use BitShares-based systems?
Yeah, so you're talking about Sollywood V, right?
Yeah, I mean, do you think it could be used for something like that?
You see, I don't think like Tom pointed out, that wouldn't be something that we would showcase in the beginning, because tutorial videos in general is not the kind of entertainment that we would want to start
Yeah,
with.
sure.
But eventually, of course, who knows? I don't know the future. I know we want to become a platform that contains everything eventually. Of course, that's what we want to, containing as much content that we can have as possible. But starting out, it's very crucial that we start with pieces of content that do the best at chasing the power of new money with a marketplace, with an online marketplace, what it can actually do. So
Yeah.
tutorials wouldn't be that type of content. But eventually down the road, because Roku is a platform with multiple, platforms on it. And eventually
Yeah.
that's what we want to get to. But starting
That's
out,
a
it's very
great. That's a
strategic.
great analogy.
Right.
Really good call. I'm glad that you said it that way.
No
Do
worries.
you mind if I ask you real quick? T-Bone asked a question, and I don't want to forget it. He says, "Can you walk us through that user experience? Why would someone pay for unknown content, where there'd be a teaser for them to view, and then they would pay to see the rest?"
Oh, you mean, why will somebody pay for unknown content?
Yeah, and would there be like a teaser for them to view, and
Yeah,
then
of course. Yeah, of course. Of course, like anything you would see on Apple TV. You get a trailer, you get a description of the content, and you get a price. And so when you look at that price, that is what's really going to determine if you will pay it or not. So for us, of course, we're going to work with our content partners, whether it's Netflix or an unknown short filmmaker. We're going to work with them to price whatever they have to offer, where it's a price that people will actually pay. The key is that we don't have that marketplace right now when it comes to unknown content creators. But people don't realize they pay 0.0015 of the cent every time they watch a YouTube video with an ad. That is what you're paying. You're paying that 0.001 of a cent. The thing is, when you pay that 0.0015 of a cent, the content creator that you watch the ad for is only getting 20 to 35% of that. With Sollywood TV
Yeah.
at that price, 0.0015, they're getting 80 to 90% of that. That's the
So
difference.
that's where the blockchain gives it a competitive advantage.
Exactly. Because all that overhead, we don't have to deal with. All those
Boom,
middlemen,
gone.
we don't have to deal with. That is why this marketplace is such a big deal.
So it's so much more efficient than the old legacy systems.
Exactly. And that is the power of new money technologies. This is what we have to show to content creators. This is what we can show to content creators.
Okay, if I may, I have a question, because I'm wondering whether your service are going to be immune to chicken and egg problem. Because from my point of view, of course, it's very attractive to see some content. However, this content should be in some way attractive to me. So you should somehow convince content creators to put some content on very cheap price. However, how you want to convince them that it's worth to put this video only on your service, or maybe this is not the case. Maybe exclusiveness will be no required, but because at the beginning you do not have user base, so if they are going to price their product at 1 cent, they cannot multiply that with your user base. Of course they can, but I don't know, the user base on the beginning will not give them very good results. So why to at the beginning restrict potential viewers of their content? Do you see a problem with?
Well, I think I know what you're trying to get at. So let me make this statement. I think you mentioned it when you said that content we wouldn't be exclusive. So this is a non-exclusive platform in the sense that our only our only requirement at the end of the day will be that content creators are not selling whatever content they have at a higher price or at a lower price on another platform. That is very key, that content creators cannot sell at a lower price on another platform. Now,
because
if you
they're making the majority of the profit.
Not only that, if they're selling at a lower price on another platform, then our platform has no value, because our platform, right, is about selling content at a price that is the best. And usually the best is the cheapest. Usually.
You just don't want to be undercut. I mean, it doesn't make sense I mean, it only makes sense to offer something to somebody so that you're not shooting yourself in the foot. And if they can put product out in some other platform cheaper than yours, that undercuts you right off the bat.
Exactly. Tom said it again. That is exactly it.
I think you underestimate network effect, because if some content creator will put some content on the YouTube basically for free, actually, of course, this will not be free if he will have ads enabled, but after but the user base can make not only profit from the ads, but actually the users can make this guy or girl famous, because there's a network effect, and without user base, there's no possibility of doing that.
Well, Noisy, I don't
think he's raising a good point from the standpoint that if you're looking at it from the content provider's standpoint, if their goal is to be famous, then they don't care about whether or not it's going to be done through this platform or that platform. They want to spread their fame, their face out there in any way they can. So it might seem for the person who wants to become famous and get big that it's counterproductive to be limited to one platform or to not be able to do certain other platforms because yours is cheaper than the other ones that they want to be on. I can see that aspect of it, but it depends on whether or not you want to consider that aspect and factor that into your pricing and exclusivity model.
Well, yeah, we're non-exclusive though, in the sense that content creators don't just have to be on our platform. I mean, obviously, when we're starting out, we would, of course, want to have, again, a certain content that does the best job at showcasing the technology. But eventually, we're going to be a non-exclusive platform. People can be anywhere they want to be. But when they sell with us, they sell at the lowest price or equal to the lowest price. Because we're not going to make Netflix sell, at whatever price they want, they lower than the price that they have on other platforms. They wouldn't do that anyways. But when it comes to short filmmakers or more unknown filmmakers that are trying to get known, they will have to sell at a price that is the lowest with us. Now, to another point that I wanted to make, because I think I understand what Noisy's trying to get at, but I don't think Noisy, you understand how bad the YouTube model actually is. Content creators do not like the YouTube model. I can guarantee you that. People want something different. They want
especially
a middle way.
The new one.
Exactly. Content creators are not making.
Explain exactly why, because different people have different reasons for using YouTube, and explain why content creators in general don't like it.
Yeah, it's very simple. YouTube takes too much. They take way too much, and they don't play enough. Look, there's only so many ads you can play against a certain piece of content to where it is diminishing returns. On top of that, I'm not even making enough of a percent off of those ads. It is, remember, it costs money to make a certain type of content. It costs money. So eventually, if you want to fund yourself, you have to be making enough money to actually make that piece of content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you mean just the amount of time it takes to create the media to put out there to advertise to attract people. Take that amount of time and resources represents a money value, and if you're not getting that money value back through ads, then you're losing. It's a losing proposition. But that's not the only reason that people do things on YouTube. To take the daily decrypt. Now, I don't know what their profit margins and how much they're getting back on their monetization of their daily decrypt things, but I do know that they didn't start off with being profitable per se. That they had a vision, they had a passion for what they did, and that's what drove them to be successful to where they're at.
Well, explain that one more time so that I get it.
Well, many people put stuff out on YouTube just as individuals, just because they're in love or they have a passion for what they're doing and they're wanting to make sure that the world knows about it. They're just sharing what they're capable of. It's open source mentality to not, and this is true with free energy and many other things, that people don't want it to be
locked here.
Yeah, it's not locked up in one thing. They want to make sure that it's well known, and they're not really focused on the monetary gain of it as much as they are the dissemination of information.
Okay, I see what you're getting at. And yes, that is a specific demographic. That is not the demographic of content creators we will be looking for. Like I said, the market is huge, and there is no problem.
You're looking for Sollies?
Yeah.
Is that what you're looking for? Are you looking to build an army of you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
There are, Tom, you are absolutely right. There are some content creators that YouTube obviously appeals to for whatever business model they have for the type of content they want to create. That is totally fine. But I can assure you, there is a large segment of the market that needs something better than YouTube. YouTube is not sustainable. It simply isn't.
I can appreciate that. I'm trying to learn, get your perspective of those other types of content creators and what's really bad. And I think I get the picture in general, that the ad revenue is so small that it's so difficult for them to compensate themselves for the type of work they do to put out the content that they do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. I mean, you go to Sundance, there are hundreds of films there that can't get bought by Netflix, but yet they still can't get on a theater run with theaters because they don't have enough money, and they have all the talent in the world. You know, you go all over these film festivals, you will find these content creators. Not only that, a lot of them are on YouTube too, and they also have their own websites also.
I think Larimer Bath is a good example of that type of person.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and there is a huge market. I'm talking about worth billions of dollars to start out with. Because again, that's only where we're starting, guys. That is only where we're starting. We're going to eventually eat the entire market like Uber did. They started in San Francisco with 3 drivers and 2 customers. And now they're all over the world. It's the same thing. We are starting with one type of demographic that can absolutely use this product, and then we're going to steamroll all of Hollywood. Can you
narrow down the focus on what that demographic is? Or do you have a good handle on what that opening demographic is you're going to go after?
Yes, it's the ones it's the ones similar to me, where they have the talent. They've been through film school. They understand how to make content. They've actually made content, right? But they're not yet at the level of Netflix. Netflix will actually outright buy their film, but they're also probably on YouTube, but can't make enough with YouTube to make the next film that they're trying to make. But they put it on YouTube anyways to get exposure. That is the content creator we need to be seeking out right now. The ones that are absolutely talented, to where if you gave them $100 million, they can make a Steven Spielberg blockbuster, but nobody will give them that money. But they've made their shorts, they've made their features, they've tried to get into Sundance, they've got it into Sundance, but nobody has bought their film, or nobody has given them a deal to do a theater run, because they simply don't have the money. They just spent all that money, making their piece of content. I think if you look for those content creators on the content creator side, and then remember, this is the key, you have a successful Kickstarter on the consumer side, where consumers are paying into the Kickstarter, right, to fund Dollars and Cents. then we can actually get these content creators on our platform and actually give consumers the dollars and cents for free and allow them to pay the content creators that they love the most. Does that kind of make sense, Tom?
Yep, I've got it.
So that's the plan moving forward, and that is why we're doing a Kickstarter, because Kickstarter is the easiest way to get the most noise about a platform such as this that is trying to take over cable, that is trying to put the final nail in what we all know be changed. And so that is the point that we're at right now. We're at the point of jumping off, of pretty much going forward. The website and the blog will be done by next week. We'll start to put up content, and we're going to use Soul Search, the token, to give to people to actually do certain tasks and do quests that allows them to earn our token before the Kickstarter starts, and even afterwards too. So that's
Would
pretty
you be
much the
willing
point.
to sell any?
Yeah, absolutely. Also selling Soul Search too, because again, we'll have an in-depth explanation of Soul Search and Solid Bond and how everything connects. We'll have an in-depth blog series about that, because that is going to be the token that people will have to get in order to get in on the crypto side. Because again, we don't want to confuse consumers and the crypto world. Both of those worlds are separate for this project. Dollars and cents is what will be geared towards consumers, and all of our crypto assets like Soul Search and Solid Bonds will be geared towards the crypto community. So we'll keep both of them separate.
Let me ask you this, Sally. What if somebody lived near Las Vegas or Atlantic City or Branson, Missouri, or something like that, where they're near a physical entertainment tourist trap kind of place, find people you're going to find outfits and businesses there that are at the very high end versus those that are kind of catering to lower end venues. Is there anything that can be done for people that live near such as to sell to promote and help your business in those locations any different than else?
Are you talking about the actual marketplace or just their content in general?
Well, it's an open question. Is there any way that you might go to such places and pitch certain venues to say, hey, have you thought about filming this and bringing this to a different audience? It's a matter of expanding their money, of course. That's what the bottom line of it is going to be for them. But it's a matter of how do you approach people in those locations, whether they be businesses, acts that travel to those locations.
Okay, I see what you're asking. So in terms of that, Tom, I would say that the way that you do that in a very effective way is you have a successful Kickstarter. You have a Kickstarter that raises money, that shows the market that consumers actually want to see this product created in full. I think that is what will give us the leverage to go to these types of venues and these type of events and pitch with a solid backing, because now you have the backing of a consumer market that says, oh yeah, I understand that. Oh yeah, I want to see that fully created. So once we have the successful Kickstarter or the successful crowd sale, once we have that in the bag, then we can go to those venues, those events, and make that happen.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm not the best in terms of marketing, and so it's an idea that I thought I would spring and see if anything came from it. And there's different ways that it could be attacked. So I think I'll just kind of continue to listen and see what I can find out as things progress.
For sure. Thank you so much, Tom. And I've said it before. Like my thing is, because I'm the traditional tech scene. I'm in the tech scene here in Chicago. And, it's all about not just having a vision, it's about having a roadmap that gets you to that vision. The roadmap is so crucial to have. And for me, with all the learning that I've done over the last 3 to 4 years trying to do this project and do it in the right way, The one thing I've learned is you have to prove the market wants this. You have to. And so for me, my proving the market wants this is having that successful Kickstarter. That is what will show unequivocally that people want to see this product created. Content creators want to see this created. Unless I can prove that with the market, people won't be as open, to supporting it. Content creators won't be into understanding how it can help them. But if people can see and people actually want to fund it, then you can say, see, look over there, look. People actually want to see this, created. And so that's what we'll be looking to prove over the next 2 months.
Okay, now this is going to be kind of a side issue and a side question, so you don't need to spend a lot of time with it. But I'd like to get your perspective, since you're in kind of dealing with entertainment in the Hollywood kind of entertainment field. Music is another area that's very similar to this, and Peer Tracks is a chain. The whole idea of using BitShares technology undergirds Peer Tracks. What's going on with that in your view, and why haven't we seen an explosion of artists just all over the place in terms of trying to get on Peer Tracks, and why haven't we seen a wild success with that?
Okay, great question. And I think this happens a lot. It happens a lot. People like to conflate the music industry and the entertainment or Hollywood industry or the visual content industry. I would implore you not to do that because they are two totally different industries with two totally different business models. The music industry has very largely been revolutionized. In many ways, starting back with Napster. Napster was really the first wave of that. When it comes to Hollywood and visual content, we, again, like I said, over the last 7 to 10 years, we have seen the new platforms like the Netflixes and the YouTubes also bring change. But we have not had our inflection point yet. Because again,
your sea change.
Right. We haven't had that yet. And that is because remember what Uber did. Uber allowed any type of person to have a personal driver. Any type. You didn't have to be a certain type. It allowed any type. The same thing with Hollywood. In Hollywood, you have to allow any type of content creator to make a living off of their content by pricing it correctly. We don't have a market yet that does that. We have platforms that allow certain types. We have platforms that allow certain prices. Don't have a platform that allows any type of content creator to price. So once we have that, which is what we're doing now, that is when you will see the revolution we saw with music. So when it comes to music, I don't know in depth what needs to be done there. But Cobb, the way he's approaching it, yes, that is the next wave of innovation that needs to happen. And that can just be timing. Again, timing is everything. For him, it could simply be timing with artists. I know for us though, for cable, if you simply go on Business Insider, if you go on all these tech websites, you will see article after article of the death of cable. People are saying the death of cable, the death of cable, it's coming, it's here. So the loser subscription. ESPN just lost 3 million subscribers last year. That's literally $200 million they lost. It is clear that the market wants something different, when it comes to Hollywood and visual content. And so what I'm saying is that solution is a solution, again, that allows any type of content creator to price where a consumer will actually pay for it. And that's the key, because at the end of the day, consumers, all of us, every single one of us, 24 hours in a day. And there's only so much of that time we can spend paying the wrong price for content when we've got platforms that allow us to pay the right. Because I'm not going to pay a stupid price for what you claim is premium content when I can pay the right price for the right content, whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Perfectly.
So do you see these videos? Where do you see these videos hosted? just in the current type of infrastructure?
Yeah, so that
Or
would
do
be
you foresee
yeah,
it
yeah,
in?
that would be your typical your typical database kind of structure where we serve it up from a server. Your the
Yeah,
typical
just like YouTube does.
yeah, it's nothing different in that sense. The difference with us is the payments layer. The payments layer is the difference. Obviously, allowing consumers to interact almost like Venmo. If you've ever used Venmo, it's the same kind of allowing people to pay for stuff very quickly, pay for content very quickly with an interface that looks very similar to, Instagram meets, Fan TV or something of that sort. Very
Out of
slick.
curiosity, can I cut you off real quick?
Go ahead.
Have you thought about this become like integrating this type of stuff with a torrenting system? Because in that case, then you have the ability to actually pay people to be nodes to hold on to this data and
Or a maid
have
save type
peers
of
connect to them.
Yes, and I talked to Cobb because like I said, I understand technology, but not
I
super
know,
duper
Mr.
duper.
Technology degree.
But it's and Noisy just said, yeah, of course, yeah, forking popcorn time, yeah, because they have it's not only popcorn time. There's Plex TV also has a really open source kind of server infrastructure going on. Like there's a lot of technologies we can pull from to make the right kind of a platform for serving up content. That's not a problem. And Cobb also has Cobb with Muse. They also have a video platform. So the technology is not the problem. Like I said, BitShares, we've got the tech down, bro. We've got the tech down. What we need now is messages marketing that really takes hold of one kind of demographic and focuses on that demographic, making something magnificent for them to where they're out there yelling about it. That is what we need to focus on now. Our technology is the best in this industry. We have the best tech in the industry.
You're
That's
right.
not what we need to focus on. What we need to focus on is messaging. Messaging that connects, messaging that tells the demographic what it is that they're getting. And for me, that's the Hollywood industry. For Cobb, that's music. They're at the Grammys right now doing messaging. I was just talking to him yesterday. And for others,
Yeah, thank you for telling us this.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this, Solomon, and with regard to how you marketing in your Kickstarter and in selling what you're capable of and what your vision is. I'm trying to, how should I react? It seems like you might want to downplay the actual mechanism that you're using to implement this vision, because BitShares, as good as we know it is ourselves, it's not so great in terms of the perception of the marketplace. So if you start focusing and using BitShares in your marketing material, that may be counterproductive to you. I'm just trying to gauge what you believe or what you think about that, because in my view, I think it might be a mistake. I'm just thinking that that's just the way it might go.
Oh, Tom, you are on point, man. I gotta hand it to you. So, me and Fuzzy and a bunch of others, I've discussed this. There's a reason why I'm doing a Kickstarter and not a crowd sale first. The reason why I'm doing a Kickstarter is so, again, we go direct to mainstream consumers. I'm marketing this towards mainstream consumers, and BitShares is simply the tech. It is not it is not the end all be all, but people need to know what is building the platform. Mainstream consumers don't know what Bitcoin is. They let alone know what shares is. But they need to see that there is some kind of tech behind it. They have to, in order to believe that we're going to finish building this platform. And so,
they believe in the tech. They can believe in tech generally because they know, they kind of think of that as their savior. but we don't have to get specific as to what tech and exactly how in the nitty-gritty details. That's something they could care less about, but they need to have the confidence that tech is indeed their savior.
Exactly. And that is what BitShares will be playing that role in our Kickstarter, because you got to have it. You got to have it. And we'll actually be shooting with Dan. Dan has already agreed to be in our Kickstarter video. So we'll be trying to set that up to go visit him sometime in March or April to shoot his section of the Kickstarter video. So in that sense, we'll be using that avenue, that channel, to really get to our demographic, which is millennials, which is that demographic. And so we'll also be trying to use a marketing firm, a professional marketing firm that takes a percentage of your Kickstarter earnings, using them because they've raised millions of dollars for their clients on Kickstarter. So we'll be using them to really, push this idea and push this message out. Again, we are going around the crypto community. We are not appealing directly to the crypto community. We are appealing to our demographic, which is mainstream Americans, because they want to see this platform. They just need a message that helps them to understand why this platform will do what it does.
Solomon, I'd be willing to say that the rest of the world could do it, could get into this stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh yeah, like I said,
I mean, you already have Bollywood too.
Yeah, why not? Anything that needs a price. Anything that needs a price. Remember, Uber started in one place, San Francisco, and now it's everywhere around the world because everyone needs a driver. The same thing with us. Starting one place, and that's America in Hollywood. But everybody needs a price. If you make content, you need to be able to price it in a way where consumers will actually pay for it, and you're making a majority of what comes in for you. Everybody needs that. But again, you got to start somewhere. One place makes sense for the most amount of people. And so for us, that's Kickstarter. That's using Kickstarter to fund this project, to fund it to completion, and then partnering with very specific amount of content creators to show, hey guys, this is how the technology is going to work. This is what you're going to do, and build from there.
What's the target amount that your Kickstarter platform is going to go for?
Great question. So we are looking to raise, well, there's two prices. There's two goals that you want to set. One is the goal that you need the minimum amount of money that it will take to build, which is $100,000. That is the number that we're going to be using for the Kickstarter. We're looking to raise $100,000, but we want to raise well beyond $100,000. If I could, I would want to raise 10 million. I think this product is on the same level as Ouya. If anybody remembers Ouya, which was the Android system that raised $9 million on Kickstarter back in, I think, 2012 or 2013. We want to do something like that where we have a base number, but we raise well beyond that. And in order to do that, you have to have pre-marketing buzz, which is why we have Soul Certs. I bring up that token again so we can get the BitShares community, even the larger crypto community, involved with pushing this project out and building that buzz. Because when you have that buzz and people understand, oh, as you heard about this project, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do that. When people understand the idea of replacing cable with something that's better, that is something Americans want to see. So we have to get that message out within the next 2 to 3 months to really build to where we're raising well beyond $100,000 and into the millions of dollars. And again, that's where the marketing, the professional marketing campaign or professional marketing companies also come in, because they help with that. They help to push that that goal way into the millions of dollars, as long as you have a product that people want. And I believe we do. We do have a project that people want to see.
Solly, maybe I haven't been paying close enough attention, but I
don't recall hearing what specifically you're asking of the people in this room. What do you want us to do?
Oh, like I said, the website and the blog will be going up, and so Soul Search, the token that I've created, I want the community to get involved, and so in my opinion, the way that's going to happen is by using PTS version of our crypto asset, and so the community will get involved if we're using this token to incentivize that. Because if this is going to be a successful project, you want to get in on the ground floor for that. Soul Search allows you to do that. You know, it allows you to complete. Go ahead, Fuzzy.
Oh, sorry. No, I just wanted to sneak in here because me and Solomon have been talking behind the scenes a lot, and Solomon actually has written out an entire list of quests for the community to complete. Some are single time quests that, you know, only one person can complete it, like the first person to complete it, like maybe getting on an exchange. You know, the first person to do that, the reward. Then you would have daily quests, things that you can do every day and get paid for it. And yeah, I mean, Solly, would you like to just? I just wanted to bring it up a little bit because we have a pretty distinct way that the system's been set up.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the basic idea is understanding that dollars and cents. We want dollars and cents to be the main alternative to the dollar. That is what we're aiming for. Okay. So in order to do that, you know how the United States funds itself. The United States funds itself mainly with bonds, with treasury bonds, with U.S. treasury bonds. That's how they get things done, by saying, if you fund us today, we will give you dollars tomorrow. It's the same thing here. The main way that dollars and cents is going to be funded is with solid bonds, and dollars and cents will eventually have its own. It will live on its own DAC sometime in the future, not the near future, but it will eventually have its own DAC where the DAC is producing dollars and cents in a way where it's supply and demand in the market. Now, the DAC is going to be also responsible for paying out dollars and cents to those who have the solid bonds in the system. So what Soul Certs are? Soul Certs are certificates. Like Soul Cert, it's a certificate to receiving those bonds when dollars and cents is its own system. So it's essentially a derivative of a bond. And so that is what we're handing out to help out with our quests today. Help out, and people can also buy it, but whatever you do, we are going to have quests. We're going to have tasks that people can complete to earn these soul certs. And like I said, it's a PTS version of our BTS crypto asset, which is solid bonds. So people, again, will be able to complete these tasks, receive these soul certs, which entitle them to a number of bonds when we launch our system.
So in other words, you will be able to exchange a soul search for a certain number of solars?
For a certain number of solid bonds, which the bond gives you a certain number of solars.
And have you been working with Ken or anyone else to get solars onto a mobile wallet?
No, because dollars and cents, when it starts out, a UIA. So it won't start out on its own DAC. It won't start out producing its own self. That won't be until, because we don't need to do that. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary to launch dollars and cents on its own DAC right now to use Solid with TV. We just don't have to do it.
No, I mean, in order to be able to spend it, you said you want solars to replace dollars for a millennial generation. How do they spend it if it's not on a mobile wallet?
Right. So what they'll be spending dollars and cents starting out. Remember, we don't want to put the cart before the horse. That we want it to eventually place That's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen in 6 months. It's not going to happen in a year. But what can happen today is millennials using dollars and cents and acquainted with it on Sollywood TV. So it has a very focused utility starting out, and that is just Hollywood. Hollywood is a big enough opportunity. It's a $200 billion opportunity. That's big enough to really grow the currency. It's big enough to grow dollars and cents as a currency and as a mind share in the American in the American culture. Which the American culture, I'm just gonna put this out there. That is the culture to influence if you want to influence the world, because the American culture influences the world.
Because they're stubborn.
So yeah, exactly. You know us. You know how we are. So that is where we wanted to start. Now, eventually, this is down the road. Dollars and cents will have its own DAC. It will have its own economic system to where dollars and cents are created based on supply and demand. That is far down the road. And whoever is holding our SolCert tokens will be entitled to the bonds that fund that system. You will get those bonds when the timing is right. But right now, we have to launch those tokens and those assets on BitShares too, because that is the best we can do right now. We don't have our own DAC. So the best we can do is launch these tokens on technology that actually allows us to get this going today. And obviously BitShares does that. That's why BitShares is the Linux of finance. That's why I try to say, because if you need to do something like that, you can do it without anybody's permission. You can just do it. And so we've created that token in order to reward those people who believe in our vision and who see the roadmap and who see the potential of what this project can do. And so over the next coming weeks, people will be able to get involved with our quests. We're going to put that thread up, and there's going to be a number of tasks that people can complete daily, weekly, and there's a certain section of quests called Epic Quests that people can complete in order to receive these soul certains.
And just really quick, because I love BitShares as the payment layer, right? And I'm thinking of the various ways that it could be done potentially on the back end. And have you talked to Bytemaster at all about this? Because Tal at one point in time explained to me that Bytemaster might be a 20x developer when it comes to database design. And anybody who knows what 10x is when it comes to development, they're like insanely amazing. So 20x, like, I don't think exists, but he made it up for him.
Yeah, I've talked to Bytemaster. I love Dan. He's a very humble a guy, and I really appreciate that. He's gone through a lot over these last 3 years, but he's still going, and that's something that I admire. I talked to him, and we are definitely, like I said, we'll be looking to shoot with him in Blackwater, Virginia for this Kickstarter, and obviously is an option when it comes to if we raise the money, them actually helping to build it. But we also have to remember that.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've already talked to him about that, and he's, he's definitely open to it, and that's great because, he's definitely an awesome developer. The problem is, he's one guy with team. They can't do everything, So I'm very respectful of that, and I understand that his time is very precious. So if we have the right amount of funds to get him on board, then that's great. But anything can happen. It's not just us that want his time. There's a lot of people that want his time. So he's one guy, and we have to respect that. We have to be the ones who step up, and provide these new avenues of really pushing BitShares out there. And I'm willing to do that with my platform to step up and
what I'm asking though on this part is actually as far as like it with the back end where the storage is, would it be peer to peer? Would that be a viable alternative, or do you want it to be like a centralized type of service where
Yeah,
the
it's
servers are
yeah.
all
Sollywood TV is going to be a traditional tech startup. It's going to be a tech startup. Dollars and Cents isn't going to be a tech startup, but it will be a feature of Sollywood TV. But Sollywood TV is going to be a traditional tech startup, like PeerTracks. PeerTracks is a traditional uh, tech startup, but Muse and the tokens are a separate thing. It's the same thing here, where Dollars and Cents smart money will be a separate technology, a separate tech thing, if that makes sense.
Yes, you're saying that they're separate entities. One is more of a decentralized movement. One is kind of like AirTracks.
Exactly. Yeah. Dollars and Cents that is going to be, like I said, it's going to be its own DAC eventually. Right now, it's just starting out as a UIA because that is the easiest thing to do. We can we can launch that tomorrow, which we've done already. We've launched it. We can launch that tomorrow. It's nothing. So the technology, the infrastructure is already there. Make Dollars and Cents a UIA, and there is no need to go beyond that feature right now, especially when all Sollywood TV is an online marketplace. You know that there's no need to do. You don't have to do what you don't have to do right now. You know, so
You're
right now we need to
100% right.
focus. Right, we need to focus on making that startup, making that tech startup, and then eventually, yeah, we will make Dollars and Cents its own DAC with its own economics and its own solid bond. So if people want access to that DAC now, they have to get soul certs. That is the way to do it. And you can either buy it or you can conquest to earn it.
And the market for soul certs right now is the DEX. Are you planning on having it available in any other exchange?
Well, yeah, that's what we want to eventually do, and there will be quests to get it on other exchanges. That is why we have quests, so people can make that happen. You know, and if you get it on, go ahead.
I see that. I see that. I just went to the wallet, and I see soul certs there, but I don't see any market for it. You didn't up any for sale yet, right?
Yeah, they're not up for sale yet. I wanted to do this hangout first before we start putting it up. I wanted people to kind of get an idea of what we're doing here, what the New Money Project is, why we're going to succeed, why people should believe in it. And now that you have heard it, we're going forward with it. It's no longer an idea. We're actually moving forward with it. Now we will create the market and put out the quest so people can complete it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Have you created a legal entity for the ownership of the soul certs?
No, I haven't because I do understand, and the reason why I haven't done that and don't plan to do it is because
You still there, Sully?
yeah, I'm here. The reason why I don't plan to create a legal entity for it is because the system will be the one to pay out Dollars and Cents to those who hold certs. And we'll have something again very similar to PTS to BTS. We'll take a snapshot. People will be able to claim their solid bonds on the system. No different. We've already been through this. It's the same exact process.
I understand that, but in the beginning, like right now, you are the owner of soul certs. You created them. So what is your legal liability in offering these for sale?
Right, that's what I'm trying to say. They're tokens. So you either believe in what we're doing and benefit from that. That's like asking Satoshi. All you had was a white paper and some code. So what's the legal liability? You know, it's either you believe in what we're doing and that is going to be successful, or you don't. You kind of say, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't really have a vision. I don't think he's going to do what he says he's going to do. And so you don't buy them. Or you can say,
isn't the legal aspect though also only when it touches the fiat?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Exactly, because soul certs don't give you they don't give you or won't give you access to any fiat. And there are clear U.S. laws when it comes to platforms like Bitcoin. If it's in Bitcoin and it stays in Bitcoin, it's all code. So there is not. It's only when it touches the fiat world. So for us, these are tokens that will give you access to Solar's cents, which again is a will have its own DAC eventually. So that's all open source code. It's all code. So you either believe that this project is going to do what it says it's going to do because it has the right vision, or you don't. You say this guy is nuts. He's crazy. He's not going to do what he says he's going to do. So I'm buying it. And that's totally fine. People can do that. But remember,
Yeah.
Soul Search will be the way that people have to get into this. We will make sure of that, so that those who believed in the beginning will benefit and those who didn't will not. I've been here for 2 years now, almost 2 years, and we are finally at the point of launching this, of really pushing this forward. And so now is the time to either say, okay, this guy has done everything he said he's going to do, and now he's pushing forward. Or it's like, I don't really believe in this. I don't think Americans hate cable. I think Americans love cable. I think, I don't think there's a $200 billion opportunity. I think there's no opportunity. I don't think this guy makes sense. I think he's full of shit. You have the choice to say that. Everybody does. But I put my vision out there. I've told you what I'm going to do. And so now it's about doing it. I just feel, I just feel blessed here, and to actually be able to say these things and actually say, hey guys, we're moving forward. We're going to take our own route, our own road. We're not going to do what Ethereum did. We're not going to do what these did. We're going to do what we did. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, I believe in your project and I believe in your talent. Where I'm coming from is you may know that I'm backing the fee-based asset called which is going to be called Stealth, and I'm not naive in thinking that I'm not going to make some very powerful enemies by doing that, because Stealth mode cuts out the capability of some very powerful people, and I think you're in the same situation. You're going to make some very powerful enemies, just the way Uber did. The enemies aren't all that powerful. They're just local, citywide taxi companies.
Oh, yes, you are 100% correct. And let me make a statement to all my future enemies. Watch out for me, because I'm from Chicago, and I've been ready for this. I'm from the one city in America where people do not play. So I'm ready for it. I've been ready for this all my life. I'm ready to take on whoever wants to go against what we're doing. Because like I said, this is a movement. And I'm scared of literally no one. Nobody puts fear in me but God. So if they're ready to come at me, I'm ready to come at them, because I've got a message that's going to resonate with the people. I'm very clear and very articulate about what I'm doing. And so people will get that. You know what I'm trying to say? So at the end of the day,
when you have the power of video, it is pretty powerful.
Exactly. I'm a filmmaker. I know how to send messages with visuals. That is what I do. And anybody who wants to stand against me, go ahead, do it at your own your own, it's you. We're all free to do what we want to do. But nobody's going to silence me. Not going to happen. America needs to hear this. So I'm ready.
Okay, but it's fine to be. You have to be smart too. So
yeah, you're very right.
Yeah.
You're very right. We do have to be smart. And I think the vision that I've laid out on what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, I think that's a smart way to do it. I think it's the smartest way to do it.
I'll say this. We're in a weird place with crypto, and the laws are defined and not defined. And from what the guidance that we've received is that as long as it doesn't touch fiat, and as long as there's not a guaranteed promise,
exactly,
this is going, then you're good to go.
Right.
And you know what? We're in a voluntarist society right now, aren't
Yep. Hey,
and
it's
we're going to
pretty
show
clear.
people how it works.
Yep.
Right,
It's pretty.
Fuzzy. That's the guidance that we're getting, and that's Bytemaster's opinion. But it hasn't been tested in the courts yet, and it will be tested in the courts because the people that we're going to be stepping on their toes have enough money to in the courts for years and years and tie us up
Yeah,
in
Greg
knots.
Wexler got him in touch with a really good crypto-based lawyer, though. Apparently,
That's
the way
totally.
the way
Look.
I'm getting around it is I'm not offering for sale any of the stealth asset myself personally. And before it becomes available to the general public, I will sell the stealth asset to an offshore company that I am at arm's length with. So, and then they can sell it.
Yeah, but when it comes, here's my thing. When it comes to stuff like I said, that's it's all code. If you're using tokens to buy other tokens, quote unquote, sell tokens, they're all tokens. They're all crypto assets. They're none of it is fiats. None of it is the official official government issued dollars or whatever. It's none of that. It is literally tokens that you create and people use it. We won't be touching fiats with our tokens. Not going to happen. Everything will be for other tokens or other crypto assets, not US dollars or any
out of
other
curiosity,
I
if you're listed on an exchange with a fiat gateway, does that mean that you're automatically going to be in that purview then?
That I don't know. Because it would be up to the gateway, I believe, it would be liable on them if creating markets that that deal in the token.
Right. If they don't offer a fiat to whatever the token's pair is, then there's no direct exchange between the token and fiat.
Right.
Okay, so
I have to agree with Once Upon a Time, though, that they don't care. They'll shoot you anywhere. They'll lock you up anyway. And having
You don't have to stick with your own rules.
Hey, listen. Hey, look, I'm an American. I was born an American. Americans don't back down. That is what has made us different. That's what makes us different from the rest of the world. I will not back down. Why? Because I was given the rights of a king to do what I see fit. And as I see fit to change not only Hollywood, but I see fit to change banking. So this is what I'm going to do. If they want to shoot me, go ahead. Have your day. Because at the end of the day, you can't shoot all of us. And the last time I checked, the American government has never won against the American people. And last time I checked, I'm going for the American people. These products, this project is aimed towards them, towards waking them up, right, to who they are and how we can change the world through Hollywood and through banking. So if they want to shoot me, hey, I'm right here. Come to Chicago and shoot me. But if it's not the case, then I'm going to do what I do. You want to put me in jail? Do that too. Have your way. At the end of the day, I'm not backing down because those who make history don't back down. They're not scared.
I'm not recommending you back down. I'm just recommending that if you do get in jail, if you do have a legal entity behind you, that can be useful. And Americans do back down and they do lose. They just lost in Harney County, Oregon, big time.
Yeah, but they went around it. They went about that the wrong way, in my opinion. Again, if you look at history, the clear way to do it is with a message that resonates to the people. If you do not have the responsibility to create that and state your case in a way that resonates with the American people, then you simply cannot. You cannot go up against something like the American government and the way it is created without the backing of the American people. Need the American people. Period.
They actually had a very clear message. If you dug to find it. It was very clear and simple. It was just totally spiked by the media, and it was not covered at all. And that's what would happen with crypto too if they decided to crack down. So I admire your passion. I'm not trying to tell you to back down or to give up. I'm just saying that there are these legal tools that can help you. That's all.
Oh, that's totally fine. No, and I get it. I just get passionate about stuff, so it may sound like I get that one.
We all do.
There's no animosity. Trust me. I just get real passionate about these things because I know we're all here, to really make a statement. Crypto. I think again, Bitcoin made its error in not having a clear message to the people. It didn't have a clear message. It had a clear technology. But that technology did not have a message because its creator decided to go in the background and to let fools create the message. That's why Bitcoin will never be what it was meant to be. Me, I'm not running away from my creation. I'm running to it. I'm running to it with a message again that appeals to my people, called the American people, because we will wake up. Millennials want to see this change. I need to repeat that. Millennials are the only generation that wants to see the old banking system replaced. If you do not believe me, I will post the research. Research is critical to understand. You just need the message. People already want the change. You just need the message.
You know what? I think we are sitting at an hour and a half, and I think we can continue going down this road for a while. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and finish this one off right here, and we'll say I agree that we need to disrupt things, and the technology that I think that we're all building isn't to kill the dollar. It isn't to kill anything. It's to empower all of us. And I don't see how.
It's an alternative we're trying to create. Our goal isn't really focused on killing something else as much as it is to create something else that we can use. So if that ends up being the demise of the other thing, fine. That's
because it's their choice to not change.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. People have the choice. You guys know. Listen to what I've said all day. It hasn't been against anything. It has been for providing something new that people can use. I'm all about empowering. We're empowering content creators. That's what I've been talking about all day, giving them the ability to actually finally make money on what they're doing, and giving consumers a platform where they can actually say, "Hey, you know what? I can pay that price. I can help this content creator."
When a competitor comes into a marketplace, if the existing incumbents see that competitor and say, "Oh, he's got another angle. We better up our game so that we don't lose our consumers," then they're being counterproductive. They're basically countering that incentive. So if Hollywood should decide, "Hey, we're going to have to sacrifice a little bit here because we've taken too much of the pie," and these other people recognize it, and they're coming in with gangbuster technologies and abilities to take our markets away, we're going to have to completely revamp we do business. If they did that, then all the more power to them. I mean, maybe they could be competitive, but I don't think so. I mean, they're too entrenched with their way of doing things to be able to that tact. But if a competitor, if a marketplace was to take that tact, then that's good. That means that they're reacting to the people. But no, we don't see that in our monopolistic world.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, that's a great point, Tom, and it's interesting because that's what Travis Kalanick. Believe it or not, he's actually part of us. The guy who runs Uber, he's going through the same exact thing. All he did was provide a solution for the market, and the market opted it. It was the market. It was an idea whose time had came, and the market adopted it. So it doesn't matter how much pushback they're getting from all the governments who don't want to see it happen. The idea is too powerful. It's too powerful. And so what I'm saying is people need to see the idea of alternative currencies It is finally come. It is here. There is no going back. It doesn't matter how many people they try to put in jail. It doesn't matter. It's here. You cannot stop it.
Once you get that message out into the heads of the people, get that message exposed to enough consciousnesses of people, it will happen automatically. And we said this in the earlier mumble with Bytemaster, that it's really about mind share, people to understand what's going on here. And there's so many people that are so entrenched in the status quo, they won't listen. They are not open-minded to change. And that's why the millennialists are probably the biggest movers and shakers in the coming change.
Right, exactly, Tom. And all I'm asking is for people to see, because again, that is a great way to put it. All I'm asking is for people to see that I have that message. I have a simple message that can get to the hearts and minds of people. I believe that is why I'm here, to do that. That is what I'm aiming for, to get that message to that mind share in a way where people can actually resonate with it. You know, I believe I'm that person. That's why I'm doing this, or I wouldn't be doing this. Why would I be? What? Like I can go to Hollywood and I can get any job out there. I can move to right now and just get a $45,000-$60,000 a year job being, the TA or helping out or whatever. I'm here doing this because I really believe I have the message voice that can reach my generation, So that's what I want to do. And I want the BitShares community to help me do that. Because if we don't do it, somebody else will. And then we'll look back and say, damn, we could have done it.
Well, thank you to all of you. Thank you, Solomon, for showing up today. Thank you for everything all of you do, because without you, we don't have a community. And without a community, we don't have mind share. And without mind share, we don't have network effect. I just want to let everybody know that we are going to be we're going to be accepting silver tickets or 100 copper tickets to get into or to reserve a place in a Roger Ver Hangout. We're going to be tentatively having Sunday and Saturday, tomorrow, we're going to be having a hangout with
now with regard to the Roger Ver, you say it's still tentative?
The time is tentative. He said yes.
Okay, you just haven't got the time pinned down. All right.
Yeah, I suggested 12 o'clock though.
When you're officially done here, I really need to understand. I don't want to miss out on that, and so I need to understand the mechanics of what I need to do to make sure I can gain the required admission price in tickets, silver or copper or otherwise, to be able to come to view that and participate.
You should have them by now or close to it.
Well, so how do I get them? I mean, I don't see them in my wallet in my that's the thing, is I need to know the mechanics of how I can transact.
So I'll have to show you that.
Yeah, that's what I need to understand.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody want to use the ShareBot right now? They want me to show them how to do it?
You can show me.
I was able to do it. I put in that thread of yours.
I noticed. Hell yeah, buddy. Once you start using it, you'll start thinking, my God, there's so many other things that we could do for it. It's like roads to a town. You can start seeing places and going places outside of your little village.
Okay, just to close off this session with Saul, so from what I understand, there's no actions for us to take until these quests come out. Is that correct?
Yes, and we'll be putting the thread up next week with the quests and also the blog posts that explain what the token is that we're doing and the whole concept behind that. And just all you have to do is remember this is the PTS version of what will be our official crypto assets, and those assets will eventually be on its own DAC. So it's open source code. It is decentralized, all automated with smart contracts and all that good innovation that we've all come to know and learn. It's the same kind of thing. Like I said, it's about taking the tradition that was started by BitShares, that was started by Bitcoin, and applying it to our project, and funding itself.
Who's your dev for the code?
Well, we've got a couple of tech partners that we can use, obviously Cryptonomex and some others. But we are focused on this Kickstarter. The Kickstarter is the biggest thing that we need to get going. And so most of the quests will be towards pushing out content, explains our platform in very clear and succinct terms, that get the video. Go ahead.
That was odd.
Yeah, so like I was saying, it's just all of the quests are geared towards helping out with the pre-marketing of the Kickstarter, because again, to have a successful Kickstarter, you have to have buzz and people have to know what it is that you're doing. So in the meantime, as we shoot this video for the Kickstarter, we have to be promoting and letting people know that this project exists. So the website, the blog, everything will go up next week and people can start getting involved with this platform.
Yeah, and I will be helping out with the distribution of these tokens, and I'm going to be doing it via the forum threads where he posts this, like the various quest tiers. And the reason I do it this way is because it makes it so much easier for me to organize it into a single location, and then I can use it and I can say, put this thread on notify, so I get emails every time something like this like somebody posts to it. So then I can easily go in there into my email every day and I can say, oh, this guy did this quest, this guy did this quest, this guy did this quest. And if I miss one of you, you could say, hey buddy, look at this, I'm going to quote your ass because you didn't give me anything here. You gave this guy. Oh, see where you missed me? And then I can do this and make sure that it's fair and it's transparent and I'm not screwing around.
Right. And we partner with Fuzzy to get this thing going, to get the community involved, and and not just the BitShares community, because I 100% believe in Fuzzy's vision of making BitShares decentral. Like Bitcoin is the central point. Why does Bitcoin have to be the central point? Have the best technology, BitShares is the central point. And in order to do that, we have to be open to getting other communities involved with our projects. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if incentivized to do such things as helping out. And so we believe this token and a platform like ShareBits can really make that happen. And so we'll be testing out as we move forward.
Essentially, Mr. Big, he's going to be a funnel into BitShares until it grows so big that it needs its own chain.
Exactly.
That's the plan.
Yeah. So we'll be using BitShares technology. We'll be on BitShares until it makes sense to move off to our own chain and do our own thing, because eventually Sense can't just be a UIA. It has to be its own currency, its own decentralized currency that is created on supply and demand economics. And it's simply not the time to have that happen. So in the meantime, we'll be using the best technology that I believe is on the market, which is BitShares. Be using that as a backend to create the UIA in the meantime. And when time comes right, it's all about timing. When the timing is right and it makes sense to move to our own chain, we'll do just that.
Well, guys, I'm going to do some editing. I can sit here and talk. You guys are more than welcome, of course, to sit and talk as long as you want. I have to step out and start just polishing these a little bit. As you know, I don't consider this a radio show. I consider this a community gathering, and I might moderate discussions and sometimes speak up about my own questions, concerns, thoughts. But this is raw. This is real. We want it to be this way because people need it to be this way. There's plenty of polished content where newscasters and people who are interviewing they present an image beautiful and necessary to a degree to grab people's attention, but it's also necessary to have this kind of counterpoint where people realize and can learn that they themselves can be pundits too. They don't need to simply listen to other individuals and say this is guaranteed right. The current model is that way to a degree in crypto media, and this enables anybody to come in here and to be real and stutter or say something brilliant. You see, it's real, and this is what I love about this, and this is what you guys bring to the table by being here. So I cannot describe how appreciative I am to all of us that.
And we're very appreciative to you
come
too,
together
Fuzzy.
like
You do so much for us and bringing these kind of fantastic discussions to the table for us all to participate in. It's great. I have been looking at the forum since I put the last message out about how to connect my wallet to the share bits thing. Haven't been successful. You know how difficult it is to find in the forum sometimes. So if you could pop to another channel and talk over this with me briefly, I'd appreciate it.
Yep. Let's go. Anybody else wants to follow, they're more than welcome.
Hey, thanks a lot, Buzz, for everything. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Solomon. It's been great.
Hey, thanks,
Thanks, Solomon.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you, guys.
And remember, if you guys have tokens, the share drop, I'll talk about them.
Okay, you want to just stay here? You want to move somewhere else?